All right. So the volume should be working real quick. I'm going to do a quick check on my opposite device here just to see how my volume's working. Damn, it's still giving me an issue. Let me see if I can fix this problem. Just give me a second. Okay, let's see. How about that? Does that sound better? Let me hear on my other device. Damn, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the issue is. I literally I did a test yesterday. Let me check one more thing. It should fix the issue. Over here for a second. Let's see. All right. So I'm gonna talk for a second, listen on the opposite device, and see if I still hear the like raininess in the background. It should have fixed the problem. The button I just used. Okay, good, good. It looks like I'm listening. It sounds like it's a lot better now. Now, just for future reference, what I did is I turned off in the mic settings, I turned off the echo cancellation and left on the automatic adjust mic volume and set the mic volume to 80%. So if case the problem happens again, that's how I fixed the problem just for future reference. So anyway, please excuse those difficulties there as we begin today's stream. There's always always a damn setback, to some degree or another. It never damn fails. You know what I'm saying? It never fails to be, shit to piss you off. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, just always, something that, there to get under your skin, now, no matter what we're talking about, whether we're talking about when you go to work, whether you go to the grocery store, whether you do a live stream, whether you're trying to game, whether you go for a damn walk, there's always something that'll, get under your skin, and ruin your mood. You know what I'm talking about? It just always is the case. You know, oh man. Well, hey, I'll give people a minute to, flood into the stream here. Usually takes a minute or two for people to get a notification. There will be a link in the chat if anybody wants to hop up here. To be fair, I will be, may I say, subjective with who I allow on this panel because I don't really have time for numbskulls like Jill or Judah. You know what I'm saying? Or like-minded people like that. Or I should say, mindless people like that. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's see. Jared, how you doing, Jared? He said, I think it sounds better. Okay, good. Jason said, it's working now. Okay, good. His brother said, Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law. I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it aligns with what I just said about there's always something there that, you always ruin the mood. You know what I'm saying? It just always has to be that case. Just always in every instance, it just has to go that way for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? It's like the universe or, well, whatever this is where we're at has like a sense of humor to it. You know what I'm saying? It always seems like that. Like, say, for instance, for some people, things seem to, always go well, in their lives. And then for some of us, you can't, ever get a damn break. You can never get a damn break. Nothing could ever, go well for you in life. But then other people, like every other thing they do, goes well for them. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, damn, like, well, why's it got to be that way? You know what I'm talking about? Now, like, I'll give you a fantastic example. Like, I was just watching a couple of videos on YouTube this afternoon about like a whole range of subjects from like, how people are spending their money out here to how people are, trying to pay down these bills, car loans. Of course, people obsessed with, useless garbage and shit. In fact, if you want to check the channel out, it's called Zach Rios. Zach Rios is the name of the channel. I was watching earlier some of his videos from the last like 3 months. Pretty good channel. Recommend checking that out. But one thing I was watching about is over consumerism, right? As people out here wasting money on such a dumb shit. Like I'll give you an example. Like the Starbucks recently had like this plastic jug is like shaped like a bear, right? And with like some Christmas hat on. And selling them for $80, and then people will go and buy them in bulk and sell them online for $300 to $500. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, well, really, there's idiots out here who are going to spend money on that dumb shit. Like, there's actually buffoons out here who are going to waste $500 on a little plastic mug kettle thing that literally cost a company like 50 cents to create it. And lo and behold, of course people are selling them and people are buying them. People are saying online, oh yeah, I went to this guy and I purchased, the limited edition, Starbucks mug that is sold out everywhere. It only cost me, $4.80 for it. I had to rethink and say, wait, only cost? Only cost? What do you mean only cost? As if you're getting like a good bargain for it or something. You know what I'm talking about? It's ridiculous. Jason said, just so you know, I'm not calling in today so you don't have to worry about me. I mean, hell, I honestly, man, no disrespect, but I don't have to worry about nothing from you because you don't really know what you're talking about. About, the Old Testament God being the devil or Satan or something. Again, don't get me wrong. I think Jason's a cool guy, respectable host on my podcast. I will give him credit for that. I will. But with that being said, Jason, you didn't really bring nothing deep to the table, man. But you know what is weird though, Jason? If you're listening, you know what is weird? That surprisingly, there are actually a lot of people out there who like seen our discussion we had recently, and they actually agree with your side and your presentation. As weird as that sounds, like I literally got comments from like I want to say maybe 3, 4 people that agreed with Jason's side. Yeah, yeah. The Old Testament God's actually the devil, and he did a great job presenting that. I thought to myself, what do you mean did a great job presenting that? Like, if you even listen to the discussion, there's a couple points where even Jason says, well, yeah, man, you got me on that one, or you got me on that, or that's a fair point. Go watch the discussion, right? Even Jason himself agreed on some of the points being presented. So I asked these individuals who agreed with him, I asked them, do you guys want to come up and have a discussion about it? Like, do you guys want to hop up on stage and we can have a discussion about why you guys think that the Old Testament God is actually the devil? And they're like, well, I don't know, man. Well, I don't know. I'll just sit here and post, 50 more comments in the comment section. It's like, really? Like you guys think that's a better use of your time instead of having like a 20-minute discussion about it? You'd rather type away for 5 hours. You know what I'm talking about? Like, come on, man. And what really shocked me is that I was talking to the one individual in the chat who believed this nonsense. And they said, yeah, we even have our own like community on Discord of people who believe this stuff. I was like, wait, what? Y'all have a whole damn community on Discord of people who believe that the Old Testament God is the devil? Like you guys literally have a whole server dedicated to this? I asked them, well, how about you give me a link to the Discord server? How about you give me a link to the Discord server and I can hop on and, have a little interaction there? And they said, oh, sorry, man, we only let people who hold the same view in. Hey, so Jason, they'll accept you over there, man. You might want to, ask them for the link because they'll accept you into that server over there, my guy. But anyway, I just find that weird. It's like, so the guy told me at the end, okay, man, well, maybe we'll send somebody from our server over to have a discussion on your page. We'll chat about it in the server and maybe send someone your way. I said, okay, that's fine. I'll bring him up and we can, see where the discussion goes. That's fine. Just send him my way. You know what I'm saying? But it's getting dumb out here, man. Like people just believe the most wackiest things. Like I'll give an example. Idiots out here will tell you all, well, you know, well, Christ did away with the law. What do you mean did away with the law? Like, is it true or false? Is it true or false that when Christ was walking the earth, he went around and taught people to live by the law? So if you can agree to that, which, is literally clear in the text, all you got to do is read it in clear, basic English. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not hard to understand that when you read Christ teaching and his message, he literally says to go keep the law and not break it. So if you agree that Christ kept taught to keep the law, well, then how can you sit there and say that it's done away then? If he literally taught to keep it. You know what I'm saying? Like people just don't think today. People just don't think. Jason said, maybe at some point we can have a part 2 of our debate. Yeah, I'd be down to do that. I'd be down to bring you up again, Jason, and we could continue the discussion for where we left off last time. I don't have a problem with that at all. That is fine. You know, um, Even though obviously, here we disagree with people who hold those views, of course, but it never hurts to be able to have a respectful discussion about why we might see differently. You know what I'm talking about? Like I'll give an example. Like maybe 2 months ago I brought some type of agnostic dude up here. This dude was like so sure of everything. Oh, we know for sure that, this star is, 4 light years away from Earth. Oh, we're so certain that there's, more planets out there than the amount of sand at the beach. We're so certain of these things, man. Really? You're so certain? Well, how do you know? Like, let me put your mind to the test. If I start asking you about dates and numbers and distances, you're not going to be able to keep pace with the discussion. Now, that's a problem for a lot of these guys out here is like, especially when you talk about the geocentric and heliocentric, models of the world, right? A lot of guys who will sit there and say that they hold to, the spin and ball model. The vast majority of these guys don't even know the math behind it, don't even know the distances, calculations, don't even know the literally elementary basics about the model that they claim to hold to. You know what I'm saying? Like I just find that laughable, honestly. Right? I just honestly find that laughable how, people who, hold to these views, don't even know the very basics behind what they're even talking about. And then they, want to sit on there and try to, argue you about it. Like, I'll give an example, right? Like once I was downtown and I ran into a group of Jehovah Witnesses that were standing there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have a little fun with these guys. So I got talking to them. We talked for maybe an hour or something like that. But towards the end, I brought up about the whole, flat world and stuff like that. You can't go really deep with these individuals because you can tell they ain't really not really ready for that type of conversation, obviously. But you can plant the good seed, as what's that numbskull Samuel Owen would say, or planting the good seed, right? But you can put these ideas in their mind, might get them interested, in the topic, right? And so when I was having a discussion with them, like one of them laughed, like a mock way, like, oh well, yeah, well, show us what you found, show us what you found. I was like, hey, but you'd be surprised at what you don't know, my friend. Like, say for instance, I'm going easy on your ass, by asking you, do you know what this word means? Do you know the distance between the sun and the earth? If I started to expand from that, you'd, be you'd be crushed, right? I mean, you'd be covered in deep water at that point, right? You're kiddie pool deep. You ain't on no level to be talking about this stuff, my friend. You know what I'm saying? You try to be kind with people, right? Try to be respectful, but then they want to be disrespectful back. Think, oh, well, that's funny to think the world isn't what we've been told. Really? Well, I thought the Bible that you claim you believe in says that the whole world is deceived. So apparently there's not a deception that's deceiving the whole world, even though your religious text that you believe in says so. And then furthermore, as I stated, if you start asking people like, distances to planets, the math, the just basic earth science so-called science, like, what's the circumference of the earth? How many inches per mile, um, is the curvature? How fast is the earth spinning with the sun through the universe? How fast is the sun spinning? How far away is the moon? How many planets are there out there? Right? What's the distance to, such and such star in space? If you start asking these questions, they don't know. All they can do is just do a quick Google search and then believe whatever it says. Like, really? Like, how did anybody determine that, Alpha Centauri is like, 4 light years from Earth or something? Or light days, whatever they call it. How the hell does anybody determine that? This is just all dumb shit that is just all made up and written in textbooks, and you dumb people believe it. And then, think it's funny if somebody, asks questions about it. Again, y'all are the real, numbskulls, who are just totally brainwashed, delusional, and naive. Again, if you want to be naive, you want to be ignorant, well, you're welcome to be. Hey, like somebody brought up a good verse last stream. I believe that's in Revelation, like the 22nd or 23rd, or excuse me, 21st or 22nd chapter, excuse me. It says, nearly paraphrase, it says, let the righteous be righteous still, let the wicked be wicked still, let the unrighteous remain unrighteous still, let the filthy remain filthy still. Yeah, hey, look, we'll try to correct you, give you the truth, put you on the right path, but if you don't want to acknowledge that, well, then that's your choice. If you want to still live in wickedness, you still want to, believe whatever you want to believe, well, you go do that then. Like I'm not going to bend over backwards, and do jumping jacks and flips, to try to get you to, see the truth, to see through the deception. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be naive, then you're welcome to go be naive. You know what I'm talking about? Like, some people today are just not worth the time, trying to, change their perspective. Like I'll give you an example. I do excuse the background noise. There's tons of people out here walking around tonight for some reason. But anyway, good indication that somebody's not even capable of engaging in this type of discussion is you ask people, well, is the government for our benefit or are they, do you not trust them? People who are like, oh, we're the government, for the people, by the people, right? Like Mr. Jill, for an instance. Hey, well, you're not even ready for this type of conversation. The deception and delusion is on a scale so unfathomable for you. Your brain would explode. You literally can't comprehend how deep the deception and the lie goes if you can't even get through your head that the government is not there for you and your well-being. And then the second one, for somebody might say, well, government's mostly good, but skeptical on some things. Okay, well, do you believe they took a man to the moon in the 60s? If they say, yeah, I believe they went there, right? Oh, America number one, right? America number one. We landed on the moon before them Russians did. I mean, well, if you believe in the moon landing, you ain't even, you're not even ready for this type of conversation. You're so far gone and, just mentally deranged, you ain't even ready for this type of conversation. Really, you believe they took a man to the moon in the 60s, but yet NASA claims, of course, they lost all the data, coincidentally, And then, of course, they also claim that it's a terrible and painful process for them to rebuild the technology that took man to the moon in the 60s. You can't really build it today, is what they claimed. Like, literally, this is what the NASA engineer scientist said when they asked him about the space travel. Yeah, we did do it, but, now today it's, hard to rebuild it again. Hard to rebuild it again. Well, what technology from the 50s or 60s is so difficult and complex that you can't completely rebuild it 100 times better today? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't get why people are just so naive and dumb. You know what I'm talking about? It's like some people just don't make any damn sense, at anything they do. Going back to, oh, one thing I wanted to mention, how I mentioned planting a good seed right in someone's mind. Let's step back a couple of years. I remember I had a conversation with a buddy of mine. We had maybe a 40-minute conversation about, the whole globe and flat earth. It was a respectful conversation. He was curious of the idea. So one day, maybe next month, right? Like the month after the discussion, I went over to his home, because I had to meet him there. And I noticed on the TV in the background, he was watching a Globe Busters, debunked video. You know what I'm saying? So it shows I put the idea into his mind to look further into it. Now, whether he believes it, whether he don't, that's on him. But the point of the matter, put the idea in his mind to look into it. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, let's see. Jared said, "Chillin' now. Hope you're doing well." Hey, man, I don't know what the hell to say, man. I honestly don't know what to say. Just everything's so effed up, and backwards, and nothing's the same anymore. Like, I agree with people all over TikTok and the internet. Everyone's like, "Well, yeah, everything changed in 2020," which I agree with you on that. Everything all went downhill. Don't get me wrong, life has always been bad, hard, always poverty, bad things everywhere, and all that stuff always has been going on. That is true. But, life was a little more, bearable, in like 2019, 2017, 2012, and so on. But, life was a little more bearable back then compared to all this, dog shit and garbage that's going on in today's world. You know what I'm talking about? Like, there's literally no comparison between the world in 2016 versus 2026. Like, there's literally not a single thing. And if anyone disagrees, you correct me down below, but you can't. You can't correct me on this. Nobody can provide a single thing that is better with the world today compared to what it was 10 years ago. Nobody can provide one point. There's not a single thing that any person could say that is better about living in 2026 compared to 2015 or 2016. There's not a single thing that any person can provide to say that it's better. Again, I challenge anybody to tell me one thing that's better about living this year compared to 10 years ago. We'll laugh your ass out the room. So, nobody's just, as they call it, nostalgic or, just, making things up. No, everything really was better. Hell, if you don't think that's the case, well, why don't you look at some of these grocery stores out here? Why the hell is a 16-ounce drink $4? Why the hell is a rotisserie chicken $12? Why the hell is a gallon of milk $7? Why is a gallon of gas nearly $5? Why is McDonald's a meal for one person $25? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I can keep listing things. I can keep going on and on and on. And don't even get me started on these dumbass people walking around everywhere. Like, I just saw a video before I came out here about these dudes at like Costco or something, as they're putting these Pokemon packs out. The dudes got into an all-out brawl, bloody brawl, beating each other up over who, got in line first. You know what I'm talking about? Like, this is the dumb shit that's going on out here today. Dumb shit that's going on. People out here, wasting thousands and thousands of dollars on dumbass shit. You know what I'm talking about? It's just all ridiculous. It really gets a lot to take in sometimes. It really is, man. Just how, effed up everything is, how backwards everything is. Hell, I mean, these gotta be the last days, man. Or these definitely gotta be the days that the prophets in the Bible wrote about, right? Like, just a couple honorable mentions. They said in the last days, men would be lovers of their own selves, right? Hateful, disobedient, wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes all over the world, pestilences. 2020, anybody? I digress. Just everything that Christ warned about is literally happening every single day and every single week. Like, it's not really deniable. It's not a deniable thing. Anybody that don't want to see that, you're just, you don't know what's going on. Jason said, knuckleheads who believe in the moon landing are not worth our time. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Not really worth the time of day even talking to, people like that. Or people like Jill who, asks Trump, everything he does is great. Nothing he does could ever be criticized. It's like, really, dummy? Like that's really what you think? That's what your mental state is? Come on, man. Like, what was wrong with people today? Like, why is everywhere you look just people so dumbed down, and like everybody out here is like glued to the phone. You literally got people out here walking across highways on their phone, right? Walking across busy streets just glued to the phone. They can't even take their eyes off the phone to look both ways before they walk. Like I remember when I lived down in Florida, I heard this story about like a highway up from my home, right? There was some dude who was like on his phone in the car with the window down. Then the wind came through, blew the phone out the window. So dude literally got out in the middle of the highway to go walk over and pick up his phone. And the dude got hit by like four damn cars that couldn't stop in time, right? Dude got hit, flipped in the air, and then he kept getting hit by cars. Christ. Dude literally lost his life because he had to, use his phone while he's driving like 10 minutes down the road. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's ridiculous out here. It's totally ridiculous. How addicted to phones everybody is. Lack of awareness. You know what I'm talking about. Like it's ridiculous. Like I'll give another example. I was watching a video on a hood site about this like a robbery that happened in somewhere like Brazil, and the guy went into like a substation, right? And he held the gun at the woman there, right? The cashier, right? He held her hostage, demanded the money. And what she thought would be wise is instead of, giving this armed robber that literally has a gun at their head, instead of giving him the money, she pulled out a gun of her own, like literally as the guy is like right there next to her, can see what she's reaching for. And the dude shot her ass dead, right? Literally point blank in the head. So she lost her life because she wasn't going to give the guy, the $80 in the till, and, lost her life over a sandwich company job that, can replace her overnight. Like, really? Like you thought that was a smarter move to reach for your weapon while the guys are literally standing next to you and can see what you're reaching for? Why don't you just give him the $80 in the till and then he'll leave you alone? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I just honestly don't get. I don't get some people. You know what I'm talking about? I just honestly don't get some people. Bald head. Bald head. I remember you from somewhere. Are you that dude that was over from like Jay Gee's channel, if I'm not mistaken? You can correct me. I know that name somewhere. Jason says, someone who believes in round earth, all you can do is show them the truth. If they don't accept it, they're not even worth discussing with. Still love them, but not wasting my time on them. I mean, as I said, there's you know, I'll say this, as I said before. Believing that the earth is round or flat doesn't have to do with one's salvation. You can be saved whether you believe the earth's a spinning globe or a rectangle or, a flat world with a dome over it. You can be saved whether you believe in any of those things. But the fact is that if we say we're about the truth, well, we should be seeking what the truth is. We shouldn't just be accepting a lie that's presented to us. Like some of these guys will be like, well, why does it matter? Why does it matter to talk about what the earth looks like? It's like, well, there's dozens of reasons why it matters. For one, NASA's getting $60 million a day of your tax-paying dollars, and all they're giving you is fake CGI and dog shit for it. Two, they're hiding the importance of the world we live in and the fact that a God exists. They want everyone to believe that this is all, happenstance by chance over time. Well, if the world was actually enclosed, well, that proves that there's a designer. There's someone watching over. And that this place was divinely created with a purpose, not just random happenstance over time, which is their narrative. And, we could keep going on and on. And another bonus I'll mention is, what about the worship of the sun? Right? Did you notice they put the sun in the center, not the earth, not the creations in the center, but the sun is in the center, and everything revolves around the sun, right? It's sun worship. Just like Sunday, right? Sun's day, right? Worship of the sun. Yo, Baldhead, you want to come up here, man? You want to come up here? There's a link in the chat if you want to come up here, Mr. Baldhead. He said, what are you talking about? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. But I mean, well, hey man, if you listen to what I'm saying, then you would know what I'm talking about. I mean, hey, that's a good example of people just being slow. And I'm not trying to make fun of him or none. Maybe he has an issue with hearing or something. That could be a possibility. So I'm not making fun of him, but it's like you say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, why don't you just listen to me for like a minute before you have to comment, and then you might know what I'm talking about, man. Again, not being disrespectful, but I mean, wouldn't you agree that just makes sense? Like, I'll give you an example, right? Like, I was listening to a podcast earlier tonight. I was like, you know what? I want to leave a comment, but I'm going to listen for 2 minutes to hear what is being talked about, just so I make sure the thing I comment is relevant to what they talked about, to make sure I fully understand what that person's saying before I, comment and either have to do it all over again because I missed what they said, or, where they answer it later on in the discussion. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, man, it's just ridiculous what's going on out here. Like I got a couple of things I want to mention. Yeah, I got a couple of topics I want to mention that I haven't got to yet. Like a whole nother thing. I just went to the shore, right? I went to the beach for a day, right? One day. I went to the beach for one day. And anybody want to take a guess how much a motor lodge, cheap motel, well, so-called cheap motel, um, was for one night? Literally like 3 miles away from the shore. We're not even talking about like, ocean view. We're talking about like multiple blocks away from the beach itself. Anybody want to take a guess how much one night was? Nobody's going to guess this. Matter of fact, let me grab a drink real quick. Bald head said free 50. I mean, honestly, you're not too far off, my friend. But it was $400. Let me repeat myself. $400 for not even a basic hotel room. I'm talking about like a roadside motel, just a 3 miles away from the ocean. So I guess they think for their location, they apparently want $400 for it. Yeah, are you serious? $400? Well, I don't think there's any reason for a motel to cost anything over $200, and even that seems steep for a little ass, rundown motel. You're just literally staying in for like what, 12 hours just to sleep overnight to get off the road a few hours. You know what I'm talking about? It's all bullshit, right? It's all bullshit, right? As Baldhead said, yeah, it's a joke. Yeah, it is. It is a damn joke, right? It is a damn joke, how much this stuff costs out here. Absolutely ridiculous. $400. And that's not even the worst part. So of course, to make the aggravation even worse, so we get there and we go into the hotel room or, motel room, whatever you want to say. And there's, people were smoking in there previously. Room smells like smoke. So now we got to move everything else. Now we brought in all the, our luggage for the day. You got to bring it all out to go to another room. And I was like, all this bullshit aggravation literally for one day. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous, right? Absolutely ridiculous. $400 for a motor lodge room. So, buddy, you're not even making, $400 a week, if you're working at a fast food restaurant. These mother lovers want it for literally one night for a little ass room. I mean, this is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. And let's also talk about how then when I go down to the beach, or I go down to the actual shore itself, there's now a fee to even go on the sand itself, right? Now there's a fee. You can't just walk on for free. You got to pay them a fee. You got to pay them $15 a person, for a whole day's pass. Now, somebody might try to say, well, $15 a person for a whole day pass, you can go on after you leave if you want. Well, that's not too bad, man. Say, well, what I'm thinking is, well, why the hell should there be any charge at all to literally go on nature, to go on the ocean or on the beach? You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody made that. Nobody owns the beach. That's literally just part of the land there. Like, nobody actually, brought the sand from afar and, put it all out, neatly and all that. Nobody made the beach. The beach, hell, if you want to say someone made it, God made it. Right? God made the beach for you to enjoy. Right? The part where the ocean meets the land. So how can somebody say, oh, well, I own this now. I own it and can charge you money to go on it a couple hours? That's a bullshit right there. That is bullshit. Somebody just said one day, oh, well, I own it. Like, okay, well, who said so? Oh, I said so. Okay, well, why the hell should I have to pay you to be able to go on the beach that you didn't create? You just took it because you said you wanted and said you owned it. The bullshit right there. And all these restrictions they have, you can't have alcohol on the beach. You can't bring a tent on the beach. You can't surfboard in this particular part of the water. Oh, you can't have a cooler that's over, this many, inches long. Oh, everybody got to have sunscreen. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. They claim it as their own and, say it they own it, when in reality, you don't own it. And all these, suckers out here, all these numbskulls just go along with it, all whatever, man. The government's here for our protection and our good. Really there for your protection and your good? What instance is that the case? Like, what instance is that the case? Okay, like, can somebody answer that for me? Like, how is it somebody that takes your money and does what they want with it a force of good? Like all these dumbass preachers on YouTube and Israelites. Oh, that's the minister of God. Romans 13. Oh, obey the government, minister of God. Minister of God. Well, first of all, the government's not a minister. A minister is a man with authority over a church congregation, is literally what the word minister means, right? So up the road, the Catholic Church, the priest over that's the minister there, right? So his congregation has to listen to what he says. So that's what the text is talking about, right? Ministers over congregations. Like, say, for instance, here, I would be considered to be a minister, right? And, people who, respect me and, listen to what I say, they would, listen to my advice and my, what I have to say about the text. Just as an example, I'll give you another example. Tahar would be a minister of a great millstone, and the people under him would have to listen to what he has to say. What's another example I can give? Like Stephen Anderson. Stephen Anderson is a minister over his congregation. So if you claim to be part of it, claim to, believe what he believes and follow him, well, then you got to listen to what he says because he's be a minister in that context. And then the nailing these guys' coffins with these Roman 13 dog shit is verse 4 literally says that he's the minister of God to you for good. Minister of God for good? Well, what is the U.S. government doing for good? How is somebody that says a woman can sleep with a dog in like multiple different states? Oh, that's the minister of good. Oh, rainbow marriage is okay in all 50 states. Oh, but that's a minister of God, man. But how the hell is a minister of God, according to you fools? How the hell is the minister of God literally promoting such wickedness and unrighteousness that the Bible condemns by death? Oh, but that's the minister of God to us for good, man. Like I just honestly don't think people hear themselves talk sometimes. Like, I just honestly think that some people are just like got like no conscience in them. Like people's heads just full of, damn rocks, it seems. You know what I'm saying? It's hilarious. It's just honestly hilarious. Just how some people are so docile, dumb, and naive. So willfully ignorant, and believe anything they're told. You know what I'm saying? It's like some people just have no damn sense in their head. Yo, how you doing, Luke? Hope you're doing well, my guy. Um, Let me see. Let me try to get some of these comments here. Jared said, bald head could be someone's troll account. There's a description that says, I don't sin. You know, that actually could be fat dogs right there. Again, I can't say for certain, but that might be fat dogs or one of Harry Green's, members over there. I don't know for sure, but if I had to speculate, that's some ideas I'd put out there as to who that is. So, how many times a day do you think that happens? What exactly? What's the subject? Well, it said I would completely agree about the second time someone came to me with the issue and have to reevaluate how I felt about that too. I believe he was talking about when I talked about how, I believe he was referring to when I talked about it doesn't matter what shape of the earth you believe in as far as your salvation. I believe that's what he's referring to there, but I could be wrong. Yeah, hey, you heard Luke. Everybody watching, thumb up the video and share it. Always helpful. Yeah, he said, yeah, your choice at the end of the day. Yeah, yeah, that's actually something good that he said. It is people's choice at the end of the day, whether they want to believe, whether they don't want to, that's all up to them. But you know what? We're trying to give people the right path, set people on the right, way they're supposed to go, the way they're supposed to live. If people don't want to acknowledge it, well, that's on you. Like, I'll give an example. If Mr. Judah wants to go worship the devil, and do sacrifices, blood oaths, and shit like that. If he wants to go do that, in black magic, hey, to let the guy go do that. Obviously, we hope that he doesn't continue that lifestyle, of course. But you know what? At the end of the day, that's his choice. What he does doesn't affect me. But it proves that, you shouldn't listen to that guy. You shouldn't follow what he says because he's been proven to be a devil and a deceiver. Now, it's possible he could turn from that, of course, but unfortunately, that's not looking likely. But hell, who knows what could happen? Who the hell knows? But, you know, these guys are like all just playing games, think everything's, funny, everything's a damn joke. There's serious shit going on right now. But everybody thinks everything's a damn joke everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like some people just make no damn sense with what they believe and say. Luke said he's been busy while the weather is cool. He's trying to do as many jobs as possible. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Hey, you gotta make that dollar somehow, right? Gotta make that dollar somehow. Said preacher in the chat. Yo, why don't you do me a favor? Right? One of you moderators in the comments, do me a favor. Click on Perry's comment there. Could you tell me if that's a troll account or is that actually his channel? If you click on it, and only my moderators can do this. But if you click on him and go to channel, you'll be able to see if it's a real guy or some troll just using his username. So check that out if you can. If it is the real guy, he said pork chop. Well, let me ask you this though, Mr. Green. Again, you're the guy who says that you don't sin, right? So you do realize that you're committing a sin on live stream here by calling somebody pork chop, or like I'll give another example. Um, I was on his stream like 2 years ago. I said I don't eat pork, and he said, "Yeah, you do eat pork." It's like, what the hell? Like, dude, I literally said I don't eat pork. Like, I watch what I put in my body. Like, I literally said, yeah, I don't eat shellfish, don't eat lobster, don't eat rabbit, don't eat, bacon, don't eat, the ham, so on and so forth. And he says, oh, yep, you eat it. It's like what the hell? Like, is this supposed to be comedy or something? It's like, dummy, I literally said I don't. So like what are you talking about? Like, you do realize you're lying on people like that. So ironically enough, you're committing a sin, right? Like you yourself are literally committing a sin. What do you mean by pork chop? If you're talking about weight, dummy, you weigh more than I do. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the buffoonery that we have, here on this platform. This is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, somebody said it's a fake account. Yeah, I mean, I was assuming that. I was assuming that because the real Harry Green, he's, like nowhere to be found. Well, actually, he did do a live stream like last week. Um, but other than that, this dude has been like, nowhere to be found for months. And then he magically just popped up 2 weeks ago. Yo, Fat Dogs is in the comment section. Yo, Dogs, I got a question for you, my boy. Which, hell, that might even be a fake account too, but I don't know. But yo, Dogs, why didn't you want to have that discussion about dinosaurs on Nick's channel, man? You know what I'm talking about? You remember I contacted Nick, I want to say maybe like 2, 3 weeks ago, and I said, well, I'd be willing to have a discussion with Dogs about the dinosaur hoax that he believes in, because the other dude, James, did an absolutely, terrible job. Like his whole presentation was like literally nothing to do with the topic of presentation, the topic of discussion. It literally had nothing to do with it at all. Dogs didn't have anything else, smart to say either. Hey, I guess for lack of better terms, it's, dumb versus dumber, right? It was dumb versus dumber. Hey, both of them are dumb, but I guess it's just a contest to find out who's the dumbest among them, right? In a nutshell, that's basically what it is. Uh, Own to me. I mean, nah, man. I mean, anybody who watches our previous debates, I mean, you got manhandled, man. And oh, you got roasted, man. Bro, you got cooked. No, you can't handle the heat that I'm bringing to the table. That's just the reality. That's just that's just the facts for your ass, my boy. So anyway, let's go back. I had a couple other things I want to bring up here. Yeah, yeah. He said, let's have the debate now. Well, I'll bring you up if you want to talk about the dinosaurs. I'll bring you up if you want to talk about that. Well, while he's deciding that, this New Light Studios character, right? This New Light Studios character that I had on my last live stream. This guy, he told me, I asked him, well, what's the next date that you guys are looking for? We're almost like an entire year now. Fat Ass Dogs, I'm going to put a link in the chat. You can come up here to talk about dinosaurs. So Joshua's like, oh, well, it's now October the 11th and 12th. Thinking to myself, October 11th and 12th? Well, what happens when that all happen then? Is it now going to be December? November? January? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no limit with these people. It's just, oh, well, we got it wrong. So it's next month, maybe 2 months from now. It's like, when can y'all just, like, own up to the fact that y'all, got it wrong? Y'all were misled. Like, is it really, that, is it really that hard to see? Now, I think some people just don't want to acknowledge these things. Dog said he's backstage. No, you're not backstage. I see the backstage button. Nobody's back there. So refresh your browser then. But yeah, it's just ridiculous to me. I just find it hard to believe. Like this September 23rd, which, as I said, ironically, we are literally less than a month away from September 23rd, right? Less than a month from September 23rd already. And these dummies are still going around talking about rapture dates. So what the hell? Like, we're literally about now a year from the last prediction that you numbskulls, put out there. And y'all are still going around like every other month talking about dates. You know what I'm saying? You try to correct some of these guys, like try to politely, try to correct them and say, well, hey guys, the Bible says that nobody knows what day this is going to happen, right? Was that Mark 13:32? Of that day and that hour, nobody knows. Not even the angels in heaven, neither Christ, but only his Father. So you try to bring it up to say, well, yeah, we shouldn't believe these guys on like TikTok, like Joshua, or some other pastors around the world who say Christ told them that he's coming back on this date or that date. Like we shouldn't, um, we shouldn't be paying attention to those people. And dogs, I'm going to tell you one more time, man. I put a link in the chat for you. If you want to hop up, you can do that if you want, but you're not backstage. Refresh your browser, and it should fix your problem. But yeah, and then, it's funny, like their response to it, like I asked New Light, like if somebody came up and asked you your understanding of that verse, how would you break it down to them? And he said, well, what it means by know is, declare it actually means. So he wasn't declaring what day it is. So he actually does know, but he just wasn't declaring it. Right? Like that's what him or Jill would try to say. So now they have to like literally change the whole argument around. Instead of accepting the verse for what it says, instead of literally accepting the verse for what it says, they literally have to just change the context of it. Try to say, nah, this word actually means, something else, so they don't have to acknowledge, what it actually says. I just find that, I just find it incredibly just dishonest. It's like, how do you even reason with people like this? You can't even just take the text for what it says. The text literally says, of that day and that hour, nobody knows. Right? No man knows, not even the angels in heaven, not even Christ. Let me say that again. Let that sink in. Not even Christ knows, but only the Father. I mean, that right there is such a hard-hitting verse for multiple topics. It slam dunks the rapture, slam dunks the Trinity as well. Because, well, hold on a second. The verse says Christ doesn't know the day, but his Father knows the day. So doesn't that show a difference between Christ and the Father? And as far as the rapture, well, it literally says nobody knows what day it'll happen except God. So, hey, basically knocking out two birds with one stone, as the analogy goes. But these guys, since they're thick-headed, and numbskulls, they don't want to acknowledge the correction. They just want to say, well, if you look at this word in the Greek, it actually can mean something else. And a dummy like Jill will say, well, yeah, it can mean literally not to know, but it also can mean something else. So, like, what's your proof that in this context it means that he doesn't actually know? And try to correct the dummy. It's like, well, let's read it slowly together then. But let's go elementary school here, preschool style, and let's read it slowly together, like how you had to do in preschool. What's it say, Mr. Jill? It says, of that day and that hour, nobody knows. No, not any man, neither the angels in heaven, neither Christ, but only the Father. So, by reading in clear context slowly together, can't we acknowledge that it means what it says, that nobody knows what day this will happen? Like, I don't get why these guys are pretending like it's some deep mystery here. Like, well, Christ really does know, because the word know actually means multiple different things. It's like, okay, but I mean, I think it's very clear to see for anyone who has half a brain that by reading the context in which it's used, it's telling you nobody knows. Like, I don't get why that's like such a, a hard leap of logic to take. Like, I think that's just clear basic reading comprehension. But it just shows you some people are just naive, dumb, and just can't think for themselves. You know what I'm talking about? Jared said that's probably a Sacramento Truth Movement fake accounts, and he's coming back from his 9 to 5 job to be immature. Oh, but I thought jobs make you more mature. Yeah, I remember that, right? Jay was talking about maybe like last year when we were on stream, he was saying, yeah, well, yeah, it's still bad here, but everybody, has to work. Like, what are some of y'all talking about that y'all are just, like, low lives and just, hold on a second. So, I was confused there. I accidentally highlighted a comment and I saw it was put up supposedly by me. I was like, what the hell? I don't remember writing any damn comment down here. So somebody made a damn fake account of me. It's like, what the hell? What the hell's wrong with some people, man? I have a funny story for you guys watching. I remember, I want to say back in like 2018, 2019, somebody made a fake account of me and went on to like a GMS members video, some dumb, knucklehead that was just in GMS on a low level, right? And they left comments on this guy's video saying, oh, the Bible's garbage, this and that, y'all, are terrible, this and that. And the dude did a whole like response video to it saying, oh, well, look at this guy, ETT, look at this bug out. Look, he's, crashing out here in the comment section, putting up all this, nonsense, avoid this guy. And when I seen that, I was like, yo, buddy, if you literally click on the icon of the comment, you literally are going to see it literally tells you that the channel was created like 4 days ago and it has 0 videos and 0 subscribers. Do you know what that means? If you don't mind me asking, do you know what that means? Well, if you didn't know, that means that that's not the real person. That's a fake account impersonating them. Like, I don't know if these guys are like not smart enough to check when people comment if it's the real guy. Like say for instance, like what if someone made a fake account of Tahar and said, well, I order you to show up at this location. Are you going to say, oh, well, yes, sir, I will do that? Or will you check it and make sure that it's the real person you're talking to? Because in today's day and age, you can literally fabricate anybody in like 2 minutes. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I just find it so ridiculous. So I had a good laugh when I saw that. I tried to correct the guy and tell him, well, hey, man, that's literally not me. So, like, could you take the video down? Because, you're literally, that's not me there. Like, I didn't come on here and say, any of this shit to nobody. So, like, how's it fair that, for this to stay up about me when literally I'm not even the guy who put this up? Somebody just made a fake account of me. But it just shows you how this shit works sometimes. They'll impersonate somebody, try and make them look bad and whatnot, and then pretend that it's actually the person themselves doing it. Or, some of these guys are like really weird. Like there was a whole nother instance where I was watching a video that some other GMS guy, he didn't really like me for some reason. Again, that's a whole nother thing. Like some of these guys that don't like me, you ask them, well, why is that? Oh, I don't know, man. I have like no reason. Like, okay, well, doesn't the Bible tell you not to hate your brother? And they'll try to say, well, you ain't a brother. It's like, well, am I an Israelite? I thought every Israelite's a brother. So, like, doesn't that, like, slam dunk your argument there, my boy? But anyway, I was watching this guy's video. I tried to be kind to him because I noticed he made a great mistake in his video. It was one of these novices just using, like, a screen recorder to record his screen while he talks for 10 minutes. And I tried to tell him, hey, man, you made a big mistake. You showed your address and your work location. Like, here's a timestamp of the video. I'd recommend that you go back and edit the video to remove that, because you don't want that, on the internet, man. Like there's literally instances where people will show up at your job if they don't like you. They'll, report you, try to get you fired over what you say on social media. I mean, this happens all the time. So I just try to look out for the guy and say, hey, man, I see you accidentally revealed the location of your job and address and whatnot. I'd advise you to go back and edit that out because you don't want other people to get that on the internet. You know what I'm talking about? I thought I was doing a kind gesture to this individual. And then I come back an hour later and see he responded to my comment and said, well, you don't scare anybody, devil. Hell, just show up at, our job and whatnot. We'll fight it out there. I was so taken back when I seen that. I was like, whoa, what the hell? Like, dummy, I literally just said, looking out for you, that you leaked your address and work location. Why don't you take 5 minutes and edit it out of your video or delete the video entirely so that it doesn't get in the wrong hands? But apparently, from my kind gesture, that somehow makes me the bad guy. Oh, well, I'm, out here looking for, his job location to get him fired or something because, he said something that his, 10 viewers didn't like. He's like so evil and wrong for his 25 subscribers that he has. I mean, come on. This is asinine. You know what I'm saying? Like some of these guys just have no sense in their head. You try to be nice and look out for somebody and they, attack you and pretend that you're the bad guy. Like you see that? Same thing with Jay. It's like, I seen he said in the last like text back and forth we had like 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, before I just left the Discord server he was at. But the last text we had back and forth was something like, oh, well, you and Drew, you guys did something so terrible to me. And I was genuinely shocked. I was like, what the hell? Like buddy, like what the hell did anybody do so terrible to you? Or like literally all I did was say, but hey man, you're going off for saying that, Adolf's like a good guy, or that, the Israelites are white, or that the devil is actually a woman. But like, is that really the such terrible thing I did to you? Like, what are you talking about? So just trying to correct you is like doing something so terrible. I mean, like again, I don't get why people are just so dumb on the internet today, so naive and just blissful. I just honestly don't get it. You know what I'm talking about? Man, these scoffer accounts are really getting out of hand on here, man. These scoffer accounts are really getting out of hand. What is that tonight? We had to deal with like, what is it, like four of them, maybe five at this point? Damn. It's it's just weird to me, the extent some people will go to just to, try to, mess around with people on the internet. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, man. Jared said, you can also search by that the symbol. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The only thing is, for me, when I'm up here, is I'm not on YouTube. I'm on StreamYard, right? So it's a whole separate website. So I'm streaming from StreamYard. I'm not on YouTube, but it's being broadcasted to YouTube. So like say for instance, if I click on like Baldhead's comment, I can't go to his YouTube channel because I'm not currently on YouTube. It's just being broadcasted to that location, but I'm not physically on that app, so I can't really, check who is who from this location that I stream from. Let me see real quick. I'm just checking real quick. If anybody got a question or comment, you're welcome to ask down below. I'll address that. But yeah, going back to the other stuff I was talking about earlier, like whole thing I want to mention, which technically I did mention a little bit of it earlier. I'll go back to it. Is I see all these like TikToks out here, TikTok compilations of people just wasting thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, but just stupid collectibles and vintage furniture. Not because they actually enjoy them, but they view them as a investment, like 10, 15 years from now. Well, not that this place is going to be around that in that time, but these numbskulls don't know anything about that. In their mind, this place is the next Roman Empire, it's going to go on for thousands of years in their, puny minds. But anyway, people out here spending, $12,000 on some type of, a vintage desk from the 80s, right? Some type of, or some type of IKEA folding chair. Oh, that's $2,000 right there, man. Buy it not because they like it in their living room, but that's an investment right there. One day I'll be able to, flip it for double the price. Seen somebody bought like a disgusting looking bookshelf for their living room. They paid like $5,000 for it, and they said, well, in like 10 years from now, it'll actually be worth $12,000. Now, hypothetically, even if somehow magically it did go up to that value, which is extremely unlikely to happen, but if it even did, that doesn't mean somebody's going to buy it from you. Nobody has, $12,000 to throw out on just, dumb nonsense today. Like nobody has spending money today, except for, the 1%, who like has it all. But other than them, nobody has money out here to just waste on such nonsense and garbage today. You know what I'm talking about? It's like people out here are just clueless and so wasteful with how they spend their money. You know what I'm talking about? Just people make no damn sense out here of the way they spend their money. Like I remember this one time that I was out um doing this bullshit job in the Florida heat, right? I had to go around and pick up the garbage that was on the strip of road, right? And I went by a construction site, right? After the workers, they apparently went home for the day or, out on break or something. And I happened to notice there was a whole stack of lottery cards sitting there. Like they were all, how they're unpeeled when they pull them from behind the counter. There's a whole like 9 of them, a whole 9 of them together. I was like, oh shit, well, let me see real quick. How much did the guy spend on each of these that are all losers? Dude spent $30 on each ticket. There was 9 of them, $30 on each ticket. What the hell? This dude literally just lost hundreds of dollars. Hundreds of dollars. And like won nothing back. Damn, that's bad luck right there. 9 tickets and you don't even win on one? Damn. And that's some bad luck right there. I've here or there done a couple lottery cards. Like once I won $500 on a $3 scratch off before. That at least I once got lucky enough to win on that, right? $500 on a $3 scratch off. That's the biggest win I've had on a lottery card before. I know someone else who won 10,000, but well, actually, I know somebody who won. They claim it was 100,000, but I speculate it was actually 1,000,000. But I can't concrete prove that. Right back in Florida, I knew this guy who, a big gambler, right, had like a business, and he won the lottery. Told everybody he won 100,000. But we all speculate it was actually 1,000,000 because the dude has all these fancy cars and shit. You know what I'm talking about? So we think he was just lying about how much he won, but who the hell knows? But yeah, some of these scratch offs, like, don't get me wrong, I understand, why some people are addicted to, keep gambling every day, but sometimes it's just getting way out of hand. Like, I can understand if you're spending like $10, $20 a week on it as just a little fun side thing. But there's people out here literally spending thousands of dollars every single day. Like, a couple months ago when I went to the Dollar General, I ran into this dude at the counter, and he was talking to the cashier, and they were talking about, yeah, I got a terrible gambling addiction. I had to spend, $100 every single day on, gambling, whether it be scratch offs or, online casino. It's like, damn, $100 every single day? And believe it or not, as bad as that sounds, it's not even as bad as some of these other people out here. I've literally seen people on the internet, blow through, $30,000 in less than a minute. And I'm not even being sarcastic. $30,000 on a couple, red or black spins. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people are just so clueless with money and with how they spend it and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. There's people out here wasting more money than some of us have ever seen in our lifetime in literally less than a minute. Wow, that's unbelievable. Oh. Jared said, I've done many lotteries. I've done only lotteries when I was a kid. Just many scratch offs. Yeah, I hear you. Whenever I buy a scratch off, the most I spend on one would be $5. I don't go over $5. I see like, yeah, I see some cool ones that are like $10, $20, but you know what? I don't buy those. I'd rather, if I do lose some, may as well just lose like $5 or $10. You know what I'm saying? Just buy two cards for $10, right? $5 each. Odds are you might win on one, but who knows? And then the whole other thing is they got $1 or $2 cards. Some of those can be fun. Like some of these like holiday festive ones. I've got like maybe $10 on them, $20 on them. And like what I mean by that is I buy like 10 at a time, and the odds are you'll win your money back on those. Like I remember this one time I got a dollar card and I won $40 on it. I remember other times I've won 10, won 20, won 30, won 40 on a dollar card. So you can win here and there on them, but it doesn't mean you need to go out and spend hundreds of dollars every other day on it. You know what I'm talking about? Like that's when it gets to be a problem. But if you're doing it once a week, $10, $20, it's not really a big deal. Said, you notice a lot of famous people are supposedly dying. I find that strange. Yeah, I've heard about that. People, like celebrities are dropping over dead, typically young, it seems. You know what I'm talking about? A lot of weird shit going on in the world. That's all I could say. A lot of just strange nonsense going on everywhere you look. You know what I'm talking about? Just everywhere you look, it just everything just keeps getting worse. As I hearkened upon, earlier in the live stream. Everywhere you look, everything's just getting worse. People out of control. Fighting each other, giving each other a bloody nose over Pokemon cards. Spending $500 on some type of, plastic bear cup. I've seen a whole nother trend where people are going to like some place in California where there's like a pink wall, and what they're doing is they're buying these Frappuccino pink drinks from Starbucks for like $8 each. We're talking about California here. So they're probably what, $8, $9, $10? California. And then what they're doing is they're just taking an Instagram picture by the wall with their pink drink and then literally throwing it full into the garbage. Somebody did a TikTok where they show the area and the garbage can literally is completely overfilled of drinks that are filled to the top, not even halfway drank. So people are literally buying these pink drinks to take an Instagram picture by the pink wall and then throw the drink out. Like, you don't even have the decency to drink it. Like, even if you don't like it, just drink it and don't buy it again. You know what I'm talking about? Like what the hell is wrong with people? You literally buy a drink to take a picture with it and then throw it out when you're done. And it wasn't just one dummy who thought about this. There's literally dozens of people who thought the same thing. Oh, I'll just buy it, take a picture for Instagram, and then throw it away. Fool. Like, a thought didn't even pass your mind about, well, maybe I should drink it because I spent the money on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't get what people are thinking today. I just honestly don't get what is wrong with these people today. You know what I'm talking about? It's like everywhere you look, just everything just keeps going downhill. Everything, everywhere you look, just everything just keeps going downhill. Everything just keeps getting worse. And that's just what it is. Nothing is going to improve. Right? Everything just going to all keep decreasing. Just keep getting worse. By the day, by the week, by the month. And that's just what's going on out here. I mean, hey, people that want to, fit in, be the class clown, want to be liked by everybody, like Jay, for an example, right? He's worried about his character. Don't talk about certain topics around certain people because, it might make them feel a certain way about you. I mean, hey, well, what did Christ say, man? Christ said, what is it, Matthew 11:6? And blessed are those who are not offended in me. So these guys get offended about certain topics. Like, say, for instance, be like, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about having more than one wife because people today think that's weird. It's like, okay, people today think a lot of things are weird. That doesn't mean that we don't talk about what's true. If that's the case, well, we shouldn't even talk about God at all then, because most people today think that God don't exist and that it's a scientific fact that Earth came from a big bang in evolution. So should we not talk about that either then, because people find that weird today? So you see, then the reasoning goes out the window, of course. Rake. How you doing, Rake? It's been a long time since I've seen you, my guy. How you doing, Rake? Hope you're doing well. But yeah, man, it's unbelievable out here. It's just unbelievable the dog shit that's going on out here. Like, I was watching another TikTok about how much it costs to give birth in the U.S. Let me grab a water real quick. All right, it's fine. So about how much it is to give birth in the U.S. A matter of fact, you people watching the stream, take a guess in the comment section. Take a guess in the live chat or comment section. How much does it cost for a woman to give birth to a child in the U.S. today? Anybody want to take a guess on that without looking it up? And then I'll reveal the answer. It's unbelievable. You would think that you'd be able to, go to the hospital and be able to, give birth to a child for, very affordable. Of course, considering the fact that the government's now trying to get everybody to have more children now, you'd think one of the catches would be, well, yeah, well, maybe we'll do, a 50% off. If you have children in the next 5 years, we'll take, 50% off of the price. The government will, pay that part. And then you pay half. But nope, they're, adding, extra charges on there, all sorry, insurance can't help with this bill and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely ridiculous. But now that everybody has taken their guess as to how much it is to give birth to a child in the U.S., the answer is between, and it can vary because, some women need like C-section or, other means of delivering the child. Sometimes there's, issues involved. Of course, So it can vary from woman to woman when they give birth to the child, right? But typically, to give birth to a child in the U.S. is going to be between 20,000, 25,000, and 30,000. It's within that range between $20,000 to $30,000. It just depends upon the circumstances and what type of procedures need to be done. But the point is, it's within that range is how much it costs today to give birth to a child in the U.S. That's unbelievable to think about. That's crazy to think about that. That's how much it costs today. Hell, like I'll give you another example. Like I saw a meme recently. The guy got bit by some rattlesnake or something, and when he got his bill, it was literally like $150,000 is how much the what is it, anti venom cost, to save his life. And he was saying, well, shit, y'all should have just let him die then. Right? He said, well, man, if I knew it was going to be this much, I would have just died. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. $150,000 just to save his life from a snake bite. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. Breakcast, what's the topic of discussion tonight? Well, it's a whole range of subjects, right? It's a whole different range of subjects that we're going over here. So no particular a topic in general. Was it about 1 in the morning here? Mm-mm. So I had something. I was watching a video earlier, and I wanted to take a screenshot of this real quick. I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to comment on this. So earlier, I was watching a video, and I was looking in the comment section. The video was about like the sun in the sky, right? It's about the sun. It's like movement or something like that. And someone put up a comment. Someone named Rachel, a woman named Rachel, put up a comment and said, I think we can also say with certainty that the sun in the sky lines up pretty well with the stories people say about Jesus. And when I saw that, I was like taken back when I seen that, because that's not the first time I've heard of that before, but it's such a weird thing to say. Like what do you mean that we can all be, assured that the sun in the sky lines up pretty well with the stories about Christ? So how does that make sense? How the hell does that make any sense? Oh, the sun in the sky, man. Oh, well, that matches up with Christ. Well, how the hell does that match up with Christ? Like, can somebody explain that to me? What about that matches up with Christ? Like, Christ went around and talked to people and taught people, right? Blessed the basket of fish and bread, right? Multiplied them. Christ went on the cross and rose again from the dead. Christ performed miracles on people suffering different, infirmities. How the hell does that match up with the sky and the sun in the sky? What the hell? What the hell are these people talking about? I've even seen dummies on the internet say, well, actually, the Son of God is actually the light in the sky. So, the light we see in the sky today, that's actually the Christ of the Bible. What the hell? What the hell? You know what I'm saying? It is like there's no damn shortage of these people. Galapagos said, can I join? Yeah, there's a link in the chat if you want to hop up here, Galapagos. Which, this isn't going to be a free 4-hour stream today. Just going to keep it roughly 2 hours. But if you want to come up here a few minutes, we can have a discussion. That's fine. But you know what I'm saying? I can't get that. I just can't get why people are just so naive today. Oh, well, the sun in the sky, man. Well, that, matches up with the description of Christ in the Bible. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, you give, 2 examples of, why you think that? Well, I don't know, man. It just looks pretty. Or the best thing they got is, oh, well, the sun produces light. And then Christ said that he's the light of the world. So see, that's the correlation, right? The sun gives the world light, but then Christ said that he's the light of the world. So see, that means that he's the sun. And then some dummy also tried to say, like, there's a verse in the Bible that says that the Lord is the sun and a shield, right? It says the Lord is a sun and a shield. But they try to take the verse and say, well, see, it says the Lord is the sun, is the sun. So see, that means that the God is the sun in the sky. Okay, but the text literally says under it, it says and a shield. So does that literally mean that he's also like a wooden shield that soldiers carried into battle? Obviously not. It's clearly just like metaphor, right? It's symbolic of something. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why you can't have all these people going around and having all these interpretations of the Bible. You get what I'm talking about? That this is what happens when numbskulls off the street, think they understand the Bible because they've read it a couple times, and has it on in the bookshelf in their dorm room. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, this is hilarious to me. This is just absolutely hilarious. Oh, the sun in the sky is actually Christ, man. Man, people never fail to amaze me. You know what I'm talking about? Rake, actually, somebody asked me that like 20 minutes ago, but I'll address it again. Was, what's your thoughts on all the celebs dying? I mean, hell, I don't know what the hell to think, man. Some people talk about this like, was it 27 Club or something like that, where celebrities, die young or whatever. Hell, again, I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. Bear with me a second. Yo, Galapagos, are you? Yeah, I got watched tonight because there's a lot of trolls and shit going on here. So I'll stay up here. Yeah, no, I can't hear you, man. I can't hear you. I don't know if you're joining on a computer or a phone, tablet. I can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
You
What's
can hear
going
me
on,
now?
man?
Okay. I just needed to switch the audio settings on my computer. Yeah, man. It's getting wild out here, man.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, it's good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a while. What's been up with you?
Yeah, dude. I'm doing okay. I'm still working. I'm um I'm still looking for some other stuff out here. But yeah, man, I thought I was kind of struggling a little bit out here, but I've talked to some people that I haven't spoke to in a long time, like years, and man, they're doing a lot worse than me. So I don't feel that bad, but it really is hard out here to get a job, dude. Like that stuff about all Gen Zs being lazy and stuff, and they checked out, whatever. Um, it's not true, man. It's completely the opposite.
Yeah, I hear you. It's I said at the beginning of the stream. I don't know if you watched there, but I mentioned I've been watching some of these videos on YouTube about everything's overpriced. People can't find jobs. Everybody's going through a rough time. But a lot of these boomers out here try to make it look like it's all your fault. It's like, really? I mean, well, when you were my age, a home was like what, 20 grand, if even that. Now a
dude,
home is like
dude,
400 grand.
dude, if back in their day, man, you could work at McDonald's and buy a house, raise a family, send some kids off to college. You could do it all.
Right. So it's like they don't really have a damn right to complain. It's like, buddy, you made the world that the way it is. Some of you people are the reason why it's like that. The people in these offices are 90% of the time, these old boomers. So by their policy and ways of life is what, creates all these problems that we're now dealing with today. So they have themselves to thank for all this mess.
Yeah, man, and it's really coming full circle too, because really we're the generation, the working generation, and if we can't find jobs, we can't work, we can't, pay taxes and stuff, then our money is not getting siphoned back to them to pay them for, their retirement and stuff. And it's going to have a domino effect and just have a tremendous effect on the whole country in a negative way. And we're kind of seeing that now, man.
Right,
But
absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what still boggles my mind is you still have people going around. Like even Jason said in the chat earlier he was watching, but he put a comment up recently and said, yeah, people talking about, the rapture every other week, but hell, we're going to be here in 2042 and, none of that's going to happen. Just watch another, 20 years or whatever. We're all still going to be here. I was thinking to myself, like, what the hell? We're all still gonna be here in 20 years. I mean, buddy, you're not thinking in the right mindset if you think this place is going on another, 20, 30, 40, 50 more years, man.
yeah, man, for sure. We're definitely gonna see all that stuff happen in our lifetime, man. And I don't think we have to wait that long. Like it's just kind of coming to a head here. I know I had a colleague of mine that I used to go to school with a long time ago. I ran into him recently, and he was telling me how he's living on like Social Security right now. He's on like some kind of thing where I think he's on unemployment. But he was telling me, he's like, man, I can't find a job anywhere. He's like, dude, I even tried applying at McDonald's. He said I went through the training and they ended up denying me because they said like I wasn't social enough or something like that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man! Like that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. Like I see all these like TikToks of people ranting, people that have like full degrees, right? Graduated from some of these well-known colleges. And even they can't even get a job at McDonald's, Starbucks, Wendy's, it's real damn bad out here, man.
Dude, it's so bad that like I know a ton of people now that are trying to. It seems like what people are doing now is they're either trying to get in the trades, and the trades you kind of got to know somebody to get in, and even then, those the AI and all that is going to affect that field. And then you have a lot of people that are like, well, crap, if I can't get into that, I can't get into get some decent work around here. I'm definitely not joining the military. I guess I'll just go into the medical field. So you got a record number of people trying to go into the medical field now and become, like a nurse or something, like an X-ray technician, something like that. And that market's like oversaturated. There's some, even though they say there's a shortage of it, the reason why they have a such a high shortage is because they have a high burnout rate. Those people, go through all that schooling, get that job because they're like, man, I need some money, and fair to them. But a lot of them they don't understand what they're getting into and how stressful those jobs are, and they get burnt out real quick. And before they get a couple of paychecks in, maybe they're at their job for a year at the hospital, whatever, they're out, man. They're like, I'm done, or I'm gonna go somewhere else. Like it's bad, man. Like nobody wants to stay anywhere. We're like nomadic when it comes to jobs, man. Like, and I don't blame them, dude. I don't blame them because you see how like the government is and stuff with like none of our money is going towards anything beneficial to us. Like I don't know how it is where you live. I think you've talked about it before, but I mean, like over here, man, you can see like the infrastructure and all that. Like the roads are all messed up. The electricity, we're having like power outages in different areas, and it's not even bad weather. It's just it's actually hot, you know, and like power's going out in different places and stuff. And it's like there's a place right now, I think in Indiana, some place called Gary, I think. They've been without power for a couple weeks now because they had like one storm, and They still haven't brought it back for them. So it's like you're losing all this money from your check, the taxes and this and that, and you look around, you're like, man, my money's not even going to anything that helps us, our society. So we're like, man, I'm just done. I know one other guy, he's able to live with his folks, and his dad's like a carpenter, and he kind of takes care of them. Like he makes a lot of money, so his son doesn't have to work, and he's never really worked at all. And I used to give him crap for it way back in the day, but now like I talked to him maybe a year ago, and I told him, I said, hey man, I just want to apologize, like kind of calling you like sort of like a bum and stuff and all that, because the way that things are now and everything, if I was in your position or I had the opportunity to be in your position, I probably would be I probably would do that too, man, because I don't see the anything like pushing you to want to be in this workforce. You know what I mean? Like what like there's nothing to work towards.
Right, right. I hear you. Great points you make. Another thing to mention with all this AI stuff, man. I mean, hell, it's getting so bad. Like, I even have people comment on some of my videos where you see me sitting there in the chair talking to the camera. One guy was like, "I think this guy's AI," and I was like, "Well, what the hell? You think even I'm AI? Like what the hell?" You know what I'm saying? Like, it's getting weird,
Dude.
man. Like, I was watching today. I was watching a video where a guy showed like a TikTok and this woman was there in the apartment complaining about like how noisy the neighbors are. But then afterwards he revealed, well, that woman's actually not real. This was what I made on my computer with AI. And I had to pause for a second. I was like, what the hell? You mean to tell me that the video I was just watching for 2 minutes, this woman sitting here talking, that's not real? I mean, literally, it's identical to real life. You can't see any mistake here. It's identical. This is getting weird, man. You know how it's getting hard now to even determine the difference between real life and AI video at this point. This is getting strange.
Yeah, man. And you know what's really crazy too is that this stuff is so groundbreaking, all this AI stuff. It's to the point where like laws haven't even caught up to it. Like you know how the whole like streamer thing, even law enforcement still hasn't caught up to that, like with the whole swatting thing. It's
Yeah, yeah.
happened so many times, yet still most law enforcement, they don't know what that is. They don't know what a Twitch stream is. So this AI stuff is like baffling everybody. You got people reporting people showing a video, hey, this person did this at this job or whatever, and it's AI. It's not even real. It's like an AI rendition of them. And then the cops are going to their house and like charging them or trying to arrest them and stuff. And it's like, dude, it's crazy, man. It's just it's really easy to just like you could take somebody you don't like, let's say, and make like an AI video of them like hitting a pole or running over something like in your city, and you just go report it to the cops. Hey, man, this such and such person, I know where they live, and this and that. They just did this or committed this crime, and hey, here's the video proof, and they run with it. Find out later after they beat the person's door down, traumatize their family and stuff. Oh, that was an AI video. That was a false report they just did or whatever. Like it's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're definitely, living in those times. Like, I don't know if you caught the discussion I did the other night with New Light Studios, but one thing we did agree on is that, man, we're definitely living in those days, man, that the prophets wrote about. It's not all, we're 50 more years in the future, another millennium yet to go.
Dude, it's yeah, man. It's crazy, dude. I've just been kind of staying away from all that, because you just see a lot of people debating and that's fair, but it just feels like it's not really going anywhere. Like these people like I'm talking about the mainstream. They're getting to stuff that me and you talked about like years ago, or like TMOG, LOP, like stuff that we talked about years ago, like back in 2020. They're just now getting on. Like now they're talking about like the flat earth and all that and this and that. I'm like, dude, this is so I don't know. It's not even like interesting because it's stuff we already know, you know what I mean?
Right,
And
right. Like I was saying earlier in the stream to somebody listening, and said, like what we'll do with some people is ask them, like I ran into some Jehovah Witnesses and I brought up, hey, you guys know anything about that geocentric, or heliocentric world? And they kind of gave like a laugh. I was like, oh, well, what do you find out about it? I was like, hey, you know, you'd be surprised at what you don't know. Like if I started to ask you elementary basics about the Earth and so-called space, you fall flat on your damn face. You know what I'm saying? So like, some of these people think they know something, but then when you start asking them very elementary, basic questions, like about the globe, for instance, then, all of a sudden they don't want to talk anymore. Now they're shutting up shop, going down the street, don't really want to talk to you anymore. You know what I'm saying? I just find a lot of these people ridiculous. Like one example I'll mention is a few months ago, I called into Captain Tazariak, because I call him Teriyaki. Um,
Dude, that guy's a joke, man. Oh my god, they're always dunking on him. Like every time I see him on a podcast or something, they're just making a mockery of the guy.
Yeah, I hear you. But it's funny. I called into Teriyaki's car chronicles that he does, and I asked him because you only get 5 minutes each person. But I asked him a couple basic questions about the flat Earth and globe Earth, about the sun making the moon making her own light and whatnot. But I asked him, what's your thoughts about the geocentric versus heliocentric models? That was the first thing I opened with. And he told me, I don't really know what those words even mean, man. I don't know what those words mean. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
dude, I remember that, bro. I remember you posted that. I don't even know what a heliocentric is.
it's hilarious, man. But it's funny. Well, ironic at the same time, their organization, the ISUPK, was founded in the year 1969, which, of course, coincidentally, is the year they supposedly went to the moon. You know what I'm saying? So you ask these guys about these questions, heliocentric, geocentric, they don't got a damn clue, but I would bet that they believe the Earth is a spinning globe. But if you ask them why they believe that, they have no clue. Like, you know what else I find funny? I was watching this other Israelite camp, the what is it, the IUIC, right? Israel United in Christ. I was watching their like 4 hour presentation. It was a decent presentation, but then Nathaniel mentioned like halfway through, oh, this man, he took men to the moon in the 60s. He took men to the moon in the 60s. I was thinking to myself, like, what the hell? You dummies actually believe that this government took man to the moon? Like, you dummies believe that shit? Like, come on,
Wasn't
man. Like,
wasn't IUIC the one that a couple years ago they were like in the street in Chicago like fighting that Palestine protest
yeah,
group or
yeah,
whatever?
that's those guys. That's those guys.
Bro, I thought about that video the other day, and I could only find a clip of it. I couldn't find like the whole video anymore because it's just so YouTube's just oversaturated with so much garbage now. It's so hard to sift through what you want to find. But yeah, man, that video, man, I was laughing just thinking about it because I saw something about the Israelite groups, and I was like, oh man, I remember when they were in the street fighting those Palestine groups. Oh, I know what it was. It had to do with that Dearborn, Michigan, and it was like all that controversy over there with like all those Shia Muslims and those Christians. They're like trying to start the new crusade and you know fight for Christ, and they're going in there and they're clashing with these people in the street, and it just looks so ridiculous, man. But that's why I thought of that.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. It's just like, some of these groups, like, they don't think, like a funny thing to mention is I remember, like, 2 years ago, when Teriyaki and Gorilla Hebrew, they met up in Atlanta to do, like, a discussion together, and Dazariak mentioned that he said, well, I believe you guys owe General Johanna, which is, their top guy there, you guys owe him an apology because he took that Corolla Yabby Yab for his personal health and safety. So you guys owe him an apology for criticizing him. I was like, what the hell? Took that Yab for his health and safety.
Dude,
What the hell is
okay,
wrong with these
okay.
people?
And this, okay, so this I learned from watching I watched some of the videos of like the Great Millstone, and those guys were basically exposing that guy because what they were showing was during all of that when they were telling the ISUPK members like, "Hey man, you guys got to go get that thing. Like if y'all want to stay in the camp, y'all got to go get it." And dude, a lot of them were getting sick, and a few of them passed away. And it wasn't until that happened, then they were like, all right, all right, all right, you don't got to get it if you don't want to. You don't got to get it. You can stay in the camp, whatever. So that they did a full circle 180. They only started going against it when their members started dropping from it. So
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
hear
that's
you, man.
bad.
But it just shows how, just naive some people are. Hey, like the Apocrypha says, never trust your enemy, for as iron rust, so does his wickedness. So if you don't trust Esau, well, why the hell would you trust what his medicines are that they're giving everybody? Of course, with 2020, right, this mystery juice that everybody's getting. You know what I'm saying? Like why trust that? Like, I just don't get why some people are just so docile and naive today, man. It just really is strange. And then on the other hand, with these rapture people, like I talked to New Light Studios within the last week or so now. And I asked them jokingly, like, hey man, you said that the last rapture prediction that you were hold to was with this World Cup event. Well, now that the event's over, now what have you decided? Oh, well, well, Joshua, what he meant by saying the rapture would happen, he actually meant it was the beginning of an exodus, is what he actually meant. And now we're looking at October 11th and 12th is our date that we've set now. I was like, bro,
They
what
always
the
got a
hell's
backup
going
date,
on?
man.
Didn't you say that the last date that you were going to put was the World Cup? But of course, magically now, oh, well, now it's October. Then it's going to be December. You know what
Dude,
I'm saying? It's like
ETT,
you can't get through to these dumb people.
bro, I can't tell you. Okay, so I was working a lot during that time, but I can't tell you how many things I heard that were supposed to happen at the World Cup. I heard like World War III was supposed to officially start. There was supposed to be some major terror attack that was going to start like war against Iran, like fully, or a UFO abduction, some a
Oh, the
bunch of stuff.
Space Needle
Oh
that
yeah,
Rudy or one of them ranted
remember?
about.
Does he still talk about that? What happened to that
I
guy,
believe
man?
so, yeah. Oh, and Elvis is gonna come back,
Dude,
right?
I heard Jurassic Liar, bro. I heard that guy almost died,
Oh
man.
man.
He's been having like health issues lately. Like
Oh
bad.
really?
Yeah,
Damn,
man. Like he was like real bad. Like I think he had like cancer or something.
damn. Well, hopefully he's able to fight whatever he's going through. Best of luck to the guy.
Yeah, man, for sure. But he just kept coming on saying all that stuff, like, the Elvis is the Antichrist, he's coming back. And Uh, I remember Rudy. I would
Oh
just
man.
mess with Rudy or Ruby, whatever he goes by. I would mess with him sometimes in the chat, and I would just be like, "Yeah, man, because they're gonna make you take the Elvis mark, right?" And he's like, "You're laughing now, man, but they're gonna make you have a picture of Elvis Presley in your house, like they do in North Korea with Kim Jong Un, and they're gonna make you take the Elvis mark, and if you don't, they'll kill you." And I was like, "All right, man, whatever." And obviously, me and you both know that's not gonna freaking happen, and but,
Right, right. And the
it's just
same
hilarious that people
nonsense.
even think that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't know if you called a video I did like maybe 3 months ago. I was at the I'll just give a story real quick. I was at the flea market with my younger brother, right? And I left a couple minutes to go look at an item while he went somewhere else. And when I come back to him, I saw he was bringing back these two books. And I asked him, where these two books you have come from? Oh, well, I got stopped by a couple Catholics and we were having a discussion, or maybe they weren't Catholics, but some Christian group showed up and they seen he had a Christ shirt on. So they gave him two books. One was The Great Controversy, and the other one was A Sunday Law, Mark of the Beast. I was like, oh boy. So I looked through the damn book, and the whole message is, well, that great city Babylon is the Vatican, and the Pope is going to make everybody worship on Sunday. It's like, what the hell? What is wrong with these people? You know what I'm saying? It's unbelievable today, the nonsense people go around. I was saying, hey, look, those people are lucky I wasn't there. Imagine if they walked up to me and handed me that. Oh boy, that would have been hilarious. I would have held them on the record. You know what? Instead of, how like when they approach you, you try to get away and they keep you to talk. Instead, it would be, hey, look, I'd be keeping them there to talk as they try to get away. That's the way it would have went.
Yeah, man, they'd get on their little bicycle and they'd be pedaling away. the opposite
Right,
direction.
right.
But yeah, dude, people are just going crazy now with like the doctrines and stuff. And really, I think what it is it's because the world's getting so bad. We're at the point where we're starting to see some of the troubles, but like we're still not quite there where it's just full on calamity. Like you can't go to work anymore because everything's on fire and stuff like that. You can't find food anymore. We're not at that point yet, but we're kind of like in this middle, like intermediary stage where people are still eating, drinking, giving into marriage, but it's not as good as it has been in the past. Like I know a
Right,
lot of
right.
people around my age that, dude. Okay, so I think I already told you, right? I'm 28, right?
Yeah.
I know people that are my age that have already been in like two marriages, like divorced already, have kids, everything. Like it's crazy out here, man. Like almost everybody I know that's like gotten married, and like I'm talking like they were very successful people, like making a lot of money. Both the husband and the wife, and like still like it's just is not working out. Like a lot of these people just are not compatible with each other, man, and like marriage is kind of going down the sink. And it's funny because you see like a lot of like Catholic parishes and stuff, different denominations say that, but they're all pushing like, oh, just go out, get married, have kids, live a fruitful life, just do all that, that's what God would want. And just live a merryful way, and love Jesus, and everything will be fine. It's like, bro, you guys don't understand like just how bad it is out here. Like that's a fine and dandy message, but that does not reflect reality at all, man. Like it's so bad out here, man. Like, I mean, I don't have it in my mind like to get married or any of that. At least not now. Like it's not even on my radar, but I see some of these people doing it. And um you know how it is like with divorce and all that. Like you have to pay a certain amount, especially if you have a child. Like the wife may ask for that. And I knew one guy, like that guy's already divorced, and like he had to start over from square one. Like he pretty much lost everything. And I'm just like, yeah, man, the way the laws are here, like that just makes me not want to get married.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've spoke about this recently in a couple of videos. Today it's just more wise for most guys to remain single and don't get married. And even like, let's say this, even if a guy does meet a girl he likes, you guys can stay together, but don't marry her. Because guess what? If you do, and then something goes wrong in the relationship, well, then she can take 50% of what you own. But if you're just, girlfriend with her, might live together, but guess what? She can't take 50% of what you own because you weren't married to her by the state. You know what I'm saying? So if dudes do want to go out and get women, well, don't marry her by, this man's marriage because it might go south if she decides to leave you. You know what I'm saying? Like hell, even Rock, right? One of my old streaming buddies from years ago. He recently contacted me out of the blue and was like, "Yeah, man, I got married and had a kid." It's like, what the hell? In the last 2 years since we've talked last, you got married and had a kid now, man? So, yep. I mean, hey, man, happy that for you, but on the other hand, I also feel bad for you because, the odds are, as in a couple years' time, that ain't gonna work out well for you, man. I wish you the best, I do, but that wasn't a wise thing to do. I believe he's only like 20 years old. It wasn't a wise move to make today. But, some people, just don't think. Like, speaking of people who don't think, brings to mind that numbskull Speak Yeezy from a couple months ago. I call him too cheesy.
Oh,
Dude
that
looks like
guy,
CM Punk.
that guy that's so patriotic about America but lives in Canada.
Right, right. But you know what was hilarious though? Is I remember we were having a discussion. He came on to criticize me because he heard me talk about what do you mean that people shouldn't be marrying or having kids today? That didn't Jesus say to, have a family? And I try to knock some sense into him and say, well, yeah, the Bible teaches to be fruitful, multiply, have children. That's true. But that's talking about the last few thousand years, not literally in the last seconds of the end times. And Christ also taught the law from the Bible, right? The law of the Bible says that if you do take a woman, you got to be able to take care of them. So if you can't afford to take care of a woman or two women and children, well, then you shouldn't be going out trying to get women and children like some McDonald's worker making 16 an hour. He can't afford to have two wives. Now, hell, I'd
Yeah.
argue today he can't even afford to feed himself at all, barely. You know what I'm saying? So the dummy just couldn't get it through his thick skull that it's just not wise today to go out and get married and have children. It's much more logical to remain single. You know, hell, if you do hook up with a woman, just remain boyfriend, girlfriend. Hell, in God's eyes, if you're together for a couple years, well, that's viewed as a wife there. If you're, sleeping with that woman, she lives in your home, God views that as you're married to that woman. But if something did go wrong and she left you, well, guess what? This government can't make you give her 50% of what you own because you didn't marry her according to his guidelines and regulations. So this dummy just couldn't get it through his thick skull for some reason. And also, what's up, Dave Freak? Hope you're doing well, my friend.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so and then another thing, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Another thing too is, more women are going to college now than ever before. More than men actually. The ratio is higher for women going to college and university. So, a lot of women want to make their own money, and a lot of them may say, "Yeah, I'm fine with being a stay-at-home wife, whatever." But you know, a lot of them want to work too because if something goes sideways with the relationship, they won't be sidelined and they'll have their own income and they'll have, his money too. So they could just immediately go, oh, just jump into a new relationship. And I've seen that happen, by the way. And I'm just like, nah, man, I don't want to even try to getting into that. I don't care how close I get to someone.
Yeah, yeah, man, I hear you. Like I had a couple of years ago, I had a, girl was talking to that I actually, knew back from school. And we were in a relationship, but over some time we decided to go our separate ways. But I looked the other day as, what she's doing, check up with her, and she's engaged to a guy, about to marry him this coming December. And I was like, I was looking at her, right? She, put on more pounds. And, not to be disrespectful, but she definitely, looks different from when I was with her. And I was thinking, damn, at least I, dodged a bullet here, having to put up with this nonsense. I feel bad for this dude. Like this woman, jumped to different guys. Before she was with me, she, had two other guys before me. And, we were talking over the country. She lived in like Tennessee and I was, further distance and whatnot. But we knew each other back from school. So that's how that went. Ended all, for the better, I would say. We're still talk today, friends today still, but at least I don't have to have that burden, and stress. Now she has a new guy that has to deal with, that nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just looking to remain single, no woman or no children. And that's just called being wise today. Contrary to what Mr. Too Cheesy thinks.
And what's crazy, and I'm not saying that she did this to him, but what a lot of women will do is they're not even going to tell that new guy their history or anything, who they've been with. Um, they're just going to be like, "Oh yeah, I haven't been with anybody."
Right, right. I hear you, man. You can just lie about it and, and get away with it. You know what I'm saying? It's basically a free range world for them. Women can basically do whatever they want today. If they say they get with a guy and you do nothing wrong to her, she can still decide to leave you, right? Leave you, divorce you, and take half of what you own, literally, if you've done nothing wrong to her. Even if she just decides that she just got bored and wants to move on, she can still take half of your money, half of what you own. Like I have a cousin of mine who he got married back in 2022, right? The dude saved up his money his whole life to buy a home. And he married this woman, right? And the marriage lasted less than 4 years. Right? Got a divorce. She took half the what he owned. They settled on, okay, Well, he'll get to keep his furniture in his car, but then she gets the home that he paid for, of course. So that's how that worked out for him. But last time I've seen him, which was maybe 5 months ago, dude's now with another woman and has a child with her. But it just shows you how in such little time, all of these things can change. Hell, with that being said, it reminds me of the old days when we were on these podcasts, 4, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And look what happened since then, man. Shereg,
Yeah, man.
hopefully he's still with us.
I
Jay's,
hope so too.
believing in all types of bullshit.
Oh yeah, man,
Judah
it went
is
crazy.
a Satan worshiper now. I'll throw the mic back to you.
Yeah, man. Primal, man, you finally got in contact with him, man. He was in a cave somewhere. That dude said, "Man, I threw it all out." He said, "I'm done."
Right, right.
He's over there making cave drawings and stuff. Hey, he's living up to his name. No, I'm kidding, man.
Right, right,
Hey, Tom, man, if you're watching, it's all jokes, man. All love here. I'm just messing with you.
right, right. But
I thought
yeah,
that
man,
dude.
it
I
is.
thought, yeah,
Oh,
I was
go
gonna
ahead,
say,
go ahead.
I thought that man was living in like a Mennonite community or something, and like Amish or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. And whatever happened to the other numbskull? What was that cat? Mike, right? And Poops, right? Mike and Poops.
Mike and Puffs or Poops. Well, where was Poops out of? Mike. Okay, so Mike was living up there in what was it, near Montana, something like that, maybe
Yeah,
Colorado,
something like that. But the whole thing with them
with
though is I
Nimsy.
found it strange as some numbskull. I don't know if it was Primal Man or Gonzo. One of these clowns went down to like live with them in their like underground bunker they had, or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
some
it was
basement.
Gonzo. I
Really
think it
weird
was
stuff,
Gonzo.
man.
Yeah,
Really weird stuff.
yeah. Mike had like 3 or 4 kids too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how he was doing that, man. I think he like owned a property or something. He was like a property manager, and his dad lived in like South America somewhere. I don't know if he lived in like Colombia or I don't. He said he lived somewhere down there.
Yeah, you talking about Poops?
Yeah, yeah, poops, pops.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, Poops, don't get me wrong, Poops was actually a pretty cool guy. It's just, his son that's the scumbag. Like, say,
Knucklehead.
for
Yeah,
instance, like, like recently, I actually ran into Mike on a live stream maybe 4 months ago. I was just on a random stream, and he hopped in because he wanted to ask me a question, and the dude like couldn't stop running his mouth. Dude kept making gay remarks and shit. It's like, what the hell is wrong with this guy, man? I feel bad for his wife, Mimsy. She has to put up with all this bullshit. The dude changes his belief. Oh, well, one day, the Old Testament's not true anymore. That God's the devil. Then Christ is the real God. Then the next day, the whole Bible is garbage. It's like, what the hell is wrong with these people, man?
yeah. He's like, I'm a Jew, and then he was like, you know what, the New Testament. Okay, now it's all thrown out. Now I don't believe in any of that. Now I'm agnostic. Now I'm the Dude just changes his beliefs every like couple months.
Yeah, man, it's just it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But as I said, it's weird to look back on, the last, 3, 4, 5 years, with some of the individuals we've, had podcasts with. Like Shereg, for example. Like, me and Shereg been doing like shows together back since 2018. Right. So talking about like 8 years now, from now that we've, had these shows and, streams, discussions, whatnot. And and yeah, it's just weird, how he dissipated out. The dude convinced himself that, well, Christ would return by, January 1st of like 2022 or 23. We're trying to tell the guy, hey man, you shouldn't throw all your possessions out, and literally live like a hermit in your apartment, and get rid of everything in your degrees or whatnot, just because you think Christ is coming back in 3 months from now. Try to warn the guy, try to look out for him, but unfortunately, that's the dark path that he took. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely unfortunate, but that's how some people turn out. Or Jay, for instance, I thought he was a cool guy. I've known him since 2019. He's been a cool dude, but over the last 2 years, he started to, downfall. Oh, well, now Adolf is actually a righteous, good man that should be admired. Oh, well, Satan is actually a female. Oh, well, the Europeans are actually the Israelites of the Bible. It's just all this just weird nonsense, man. And then of course Judah, which he's a new kid on the block. He's only been around for not even a year, right? But the dude bugged himself out so quick, for months teaching the Bible on YouTube. But then all of a sudden, oh well, now Satan is God. Now he's doing blood sacrifices to the devil.
Oh
I mean,
my
what the hell,
goodness.
man? This is crazy.
Yeah, he went from liking ladyboys to throwing out the Bible and becoming like a Satan worshiper or something. I don't know.
Right, right.
Yeah, these people are just they're crashing out so bad now, man. And Perry, I told you like maybe a year or two ago, like Perry's gonna seem like a stable guy compared to all these other people when they start
Yeah,
going off and
I
going
hear you.
crazy. And now
Yeah, I
we're
hear.
starting to see it, man.
Right, I hear you. Again, as even though Perry Green is a numbskull novice himself, but yeah, looking at that numbskull compared to these clowns we see, at least Perry Green sticks to what he claims he believes in for years now. Again, not that he's right, of course, but at least the dude's not changing what he believes like every 2 months, like some people are around here. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, damn. And you know what I find just so hilarious and sad is like with Jay, he'll sit there and say, well, yeah, UETT and Drew, you guys have done something so terrible to me. I was thinking to myself, like, what the hell did we do so terrible, man? Like, all we did is try to correct you and say, no, Adolf is not, a good man you're supposed to admire. No, Satan is not a woman. The Bible says that he's a him or a he, a man, whatever. It's like, what the hell did we do so wrong to you, man? Like, why are you acting like this? And I told him, like, here's my quote of the day here. I tried to tell him, the reason why people are starting to distance themselves from you is not because we don't like you, but it's because of what you have become. And that's just the truth. We're starting to distance ourselves from some people like Jay or Judah, not because we hate those guys, but it's because of what they themselves has turned into, what they have became by their own wrongdoing. We hope that these guys have a change of heart. We really do. But, at the end of the day, some people are just not going to find out until it's too late for them. And I hope these guys change their mind. Like, Judah, maybe he can realize that he's, in the wrong path, believing in the devil and whatnot. But hey, hey, look, I don't know the mind of God. So as to what God decides to do with these individuals, that's up for him to know. I don't know the mind of God. Inside joke.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, man, I feel you on that. There's a couple of people that, I considered good friends, and I had known for a while, and unfortunately, I lost them, or they kind of fell away, and um, they kept like it's like they just changed, did a 180 and just became real toxic, and I had to distance myself from them. And I think that what happened, because the majority of this all happened in 2025, but I really do feel, man, as the world becomes more and more unraveled, people are also becoming more unraveled mentally, and it's just affecting them to a point where they're just going down some dark paths, and they're kind of just lashing out at everyone, and that's even includes the people that they once deemed close, and people are just burning bridges everywhere, and it's just very sad to see.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? Let me see real quick. Yeah, well, you know what? It's funny because Jay's actually watching us on stream right now because he just put up a video 10 seconds ago. Some type of. It's hard to see in my camera here, but I just want to show that as proof. The guy, like, literally 10 seconds ago just put up a video just like scoffing or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So it shows the dudes, actually there listening to what we're talking about. And again, man, Jay, we're not saying that we hate you or nothing, man. We feel bad for you. We honestly feel for you because, we were, good friends for a number of years, man. But I can't call myself a friend today with somebody who backs Adolf and, this other stuff. If you want to believe that, man, you're welcome to go believe that. But I can't. That's not cool around here. You can't claim you follow Christ and also a man who's responsible for the death of millions of people. Like I think that's just common sense that people would have today, but apparently not. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, nobody's trying to, hate on you or wish nothing bad on you. We hope you for the best for you, my friend. But you got to repent of what you're doing. You and Judah, Judah over there making, vials on the wall, sacrificing, giving his own blood to the devil. I mean, this is wicked shit that's going on here. You know what I'm
For
saying? This is wicked shit going
Yeah,
on here.
that's
This
just
isn't
I'm
righteousness.
laughing just because how ridiculous it is, but yeah, man, that's insane that we're even there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I'll tell you what. If you would have told me 7 years ago. Well, shit, if you told me in 2019 that the world would shut down in 2020, then, in a couple years' time, people will be telling me that Adolf is like a respectable hero and religious people now giving blood sacrifices to the devil. I would think I'm just having a bad dream if somebody told me that was what's going to happen in the next couple of years. Like, I would never believe anybody if they were to tell
Yeah,
me this is the shit that would be going on today. But hell, lo and behold, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, or that freaking most of the like school books now are getting rewritten with AI. Like whole books you're just checking out weren't, you know, like written by a person or anything. It's just AI garbage. And it's crazy right now. Like we're dumbing ourselves down purposely, or the government's purposely dumbing people down.
Right, right. I mean, I think it's so clear to see it. There's obviously, agenda here, but some people, sit there and act like surprised. Like say, for instance, like I was talking to this one agnostic guy last month about, the creation, and the star distance and whatnot. And I asked him, well, do you believe that there's like anything like suspicious with the government? Like, you don't think that there's any powers behind the scenes pulling strings? And he's like, nope. I have no reason to believe that. No indication, that there's anybody behind the scenes, pulling strings, to get things done, any agenda, all that's just, conspiracy stuff on the internet. It's like, really? Like, you don't think there's anyone behind the scenes with power and money that can, get these agendas to go how they want? Like, you don't think that? It just shows how naive some people are today. They believe the narrative dictated to them, and anybody who dares to ask questions, is automatically, weird or whatnot.
And that's why I think that everything's kind of just being exposed right now, blatantly out in the open, like with the government, with the corruption and all that. I think the reason why that's became mainstream media and it's no longer conspiracy is so that those people can finally see it for themselves. That hey, basically we were right this whole time. Like, yeah, there was a bigger play at hand, and it was you know, there were negative forces behind the scenes the whole time, kind of conspiring against all of us and working against our best interest. But they have to be so flamboyant with it in order for the masses to finally go like, "Oh, it is really true." They are really corrupt. That thing that those conspirators were talking about actually did happen. Like, yeah,
Well, it's a fantastic example of what you're saying as these UFOs. Like anybody, like older people might remember, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the government's narrative is UFOs, that's a conspiracy. There's no such thing as unexplained flying objects. That don't exist. But here we are in the 2020s, and now the government says, yes, these things are real. Some of them we can explain, some of them we don't know where they're from, but they're releasing these files to the public, right? Letting these things be known that these vehicles are known, these are real, they're not fake. But yet, 50, 60 years ago, their narrative was all, that's all made up, right? All of that stuff isn't real, just conspiracy, people seeing things that are not actually there. But then all of a sudden now they acknowledge these factors. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, man. It's like even truthering, it just doesn't feel like it's as effective as it used to be. Like I don't really even watch those shows anymore. Those channels, like Jay's cousin, at least he said that was his cousin. Call for an uprising.
I
Um,
thought he claimed that was his uncle.
I thought he said that was his cousin.
Shit, maybe he just changed up the story.
I don't know, but evidently they weren't very close because he was supposed to like talk to him at some point, and I don't think he ever said anything back to him. But
Right, I get
like
you.
channels like that, Russian vids, all them, I don't watch any of that anymore. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
I
to
hear
because it's
you.
all just out there out in the open now.
Right, I hear you, man. Like some of these guys, like Call for an Uprising, Truth Untold, Scariest Movie Ever, Russian Vid, keep going on and on. Yeah, I used to watch these guys a decent amount back in, 2015, 16, 17. But over the time, I distanced myself from them because you find out all of them are still believing certain narratives, like all the fallen angels, all the UFOs are demonic, and so on and so forth. Some information they give is true on some topics, but then on other topics they go a little overboard, with nonsense they talk about, like dummies on here saying, oh, well, September 11th, there were no airplanes used. That was all just CGI. So you mean to tell me that all these hundreds or thousands of civilians who called it on their own devices, all that's not real? Well, pretty much, man. Pretty much it's all just a narrative. You know what I'm saying? It's like some people just make up the most dumbest shit to try to, make it look like they figured something deep out. Like, fantastic example was that numbskull, Silver Rain Soul, Unchained Mind, which I call his ass fully chained. His mind is fully chained mind. But I went on there with a couple of his coons, and we were having a debate about the airplanes and whatnot. This dummy is like, oh, well, hey, look, man, all that footage is not real. Like, I show him a video clip from somebody on the Hudson River or like one of the ferries, and they record the airplane going overhead and strike the tower. And Dummy's like, well, that's all fake, man. And what about the people who were screaming and yelling? Oh, well, those are all a bunch of crisis actors. You know what I'm saying? It's like how do you even reason with people like this who are just so delusional and just warped in the mind that they think like literally every single thing in the world is just not real. It's like, sorry, but in a world of 8 billion people, sometimes real things happen here and there. Of course, sometimes things can be staged or made out to be something else to what it is, of course, but that doesn't mean that real things don't ever happen in the world. Just people are just dumb today, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought all that up because I think that's one of the main reasons why they brought in AI or incorporated it into pretty much everything is to muddy the waters as to what's real and what's not. Because now, like me and you know, because we grew up, around the time before the internet was flooded with all this stuff. But the younger generation, the people that like in their much earlier teens now, they don't know what's true and what's not. Like they might see some AI footage of 9/11 and believe, oh, that's real or whatever or something. Like they can't use any discernment.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, man. It's just people are just lost in the sauce. Oh, and by the way, we have Mr. Judah in the back chat. But just so you know, Mr. Judah, I'm not bringing you up here. Do you know why? Not because I'm trying to be disrespectful, but we've already had multiple discussions about, why you believe in the devil, give sacrifices to him, blood oaths. Hey man, you go believe that if you want, but we don't tolerate that here. This is a channel about teaching the word of God and the Bible and about the soon return of Christ and living righteously. We don't deal with that bullshit here. You know what I'm saying? So you can change your ways and then perhaps we can bring you back. But if you're actively living wickedness, well, we can't deal with that here. Like, you know, I don't get why that's so difficult to understand. You get what I'm saying? Galapagos, like I don't get why that's so hard to swallow that pill. I just don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, the trolling's just too obvious. And it's old and drawn out. Like I said, maybe 5, 6 years ago, it'd be fun, but the times we're in now, it's just like, all right, man, like this is old.
Yeah, yeah, I get you, man. It's like, really, I stepped back from doing a lot of like these. Like when I go on YouTube, I see like dozens of people live from all over the world. And, I typically would join in there to try to, ruffle some feathers, get a couple clips, try to, of course, spread the word too. But you know what? I've kind of stepped back from it recently. I was like, you know what? Sure, here and there, once in a while, it's fun to hop on a panel and talk to people of other views and whatnot, of course. But you know what? I'm not going to do it like every other day. I'll do it like maybe once a month, twice a month if I feel like it. But you know what? It's honestly not worth the time, doing it like 2 or 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? It's like people are dumb, naive, and 95% of the time, won't even consider anything that goes against their preconceived notion. I think by looking at these streams we see on YouTube, that's evident. That statement is just evident and clear to see that, people are just naive and blissful, like Judah, for example. We try to show the guy, hey, man, you know, if you're living this wicked lifestyle, you are not going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. Then he says, well, I don't believe in the Bible. Say, okay, well, don't you believe in Satan? Yeah, he's the big God or whatever. Okay, but doesn't Satan come from the Bible though? So if Satan is real, well, doesn't that mean that the God of the Bible is real too? Oh, well, I didn't really think about that part. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
man,
Ridiculous.
he just pick and chooses. He just pulled a mic.
Right, right.
He's like, no, on this day I'll say this is true. On this day I'll throw that out and then say this is true. And then next week I'll throw it all out and make up something else.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. It's just ridiculous, like with these rapture talk people. But like New Light Studios, as I mentioned him earlier, he's every other week it's a new day, new day. Like even some of his followers are starting to get bored and telling him, "Hey, man, it's like this is the 28th date for this year. Like, shouldn't we like cut it out by now?" And they never take heed to it, right? Never listen. They just want to continue with these number crunches and date settings. And these guys will continue to do it for, for years to come, unfortunately. It's funny. I asked this guy, like, how long have you been into this rapture stuff? Oh, well, I've only heard of it last year, man, with, this whole Joshua prophecy. And what day is that? Oh, September 23rd. And remind the guy, hey, man, people have been saying this September 23rd rapture thing for literally 10 to 15 years on YouTube. So Joshua is literally bringing nothing new this year. It's just the same old garbage every year. It's just somebody popular this year came up with the dogma, not some knucklehead on YouTube somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So like these people just have no sense. And then you ask them, well, the biggest elephant in the room here is the Bible itself literally says nobody knows the day and the hour, right? Mark 13:32 of that day and the hour, nobody knows, not even the angels in heaven, neither Christ, but only the Father. And then what they'll try to do when you cut them with that is they'll try to say, well, the word to know actually means different things in context. It's like, really? Like, this is how bad you have to devolve to hold to the nonsense you believe? You can't just take the correction? And even Jill did that to try to say, oh, well, when Christ said that he don't know the day and hour, he really does know, man. He's just not declaring what it is. It's like, come on, man.
Oh,
These
dude,
people are
you
just
know what a
ridiculous.
lot of Christians say? Like I've seen it on YouTube, a lot of like the mainstream ones with like hundreds of thousands of subs.
Right.
They'll say, oh, to that verse, that's not Jesus, or that's God not talking from his godly form. That's him talking from his earthly form when he was limiting himself. He didn't know, and this and that, but he really does know when he went outside of the back out of the body, and it just it's just overlapping nonsense, man. It when you listen to them, you're going to confuse yourself because you're going to be like, man, what the heck are they even talking about? Like you purposely have to dumb yourself down to believe that crap.
Right, right. Like, didn't you? I believe you told me like a year ago you were listening to some podcast and some dummy called in and said that one of his proofs of Christ is they found his bones at a
Oh,
crucifixion site.
yeah. Dude, that guy said Jesus was a fish.
Wait, well, tell the audience what that was in case they didn't see
So
that. Well, what was it you seen
so
on there?
it was, man, it was some dude was doing some call-in show, and first of all, he is an atheist, right? So he doesn't even believe in God or whatever. I don't know why it was having, like, people calling in, I guess to prove Christianity, and then this wild card calls in, and he's like, "No, man, they actually found the bones near the, where Jesus was nailed to a cross, and it was female bones, and it proved, Jesus was real, but was also actually a woman." It's like, "What the heck?" Like, where did that one come from? That's one I never heard of, like, what the
Yeah, I mean, what the
it
hell?
doesn't
What the?
surprise me at this point, bro, they're just making up shit. But that was
You
sorry
know?
for cursing, but that was hilarious, man. That one threw me off so bad, I just started laughing at the
Yeah,
ridiculousness of it.
like what the hell that they found bones at Christ's crucifixion? Well, I thought the whole story was that he rose from the dead. Like whoever said that clearly has not read their Bible. Hey, look, he don't know the scriptures. He don't know the scriptures. Inside joke. He don't know the skibbies, the skibbities, the these nuts. He doesn't know these skibbies. Inside joke.
Oh,
But
man.
you know what? It's like when you read the story, is it true or false? And this is how you slam dunk whoever said that. Is it true or false that when Mary and the other woman went to see Christ's body in the tomb, there was nothing left? So they thought somebody stole his body. So with that being considered, the fact they thought someone stole his body because it wasn't there, because they took him down from the cross and put him in a tomb. So how the hell could there be any bones at his crucifixion site? Like, that's a mic drop moment right there.
Yeah, for real.
You know what I'm saying? It's just some people just don't think, man. It's just some people are just talking out of their behind, and don't know nothing. Like these dummies saying Christ did away with the law. Oh, man. But you don't even have to repent for salvation. You can just believe. That's all, man. Just believe. Your works don't really matter. It's what Christ did for you on the cross. It's like, okay, well, if that's the case, is it true or false that Christ went around and taught people to repent? Like we'll read John 5:14 or John the 8th chapter. Two examples of Christ told people to go repent and stop sinning. So like what the hell do these dummies mean? Oh, it's not of your actions, man, not of
And y
your works. Just
yeah.
believe.
And you know what some of them say to that? They'll be like, "Oh, but that was back then. That was before, he died on the cross for our sins and this and that." And they'll kind of dip into like what Perry says, where he's like, where Perry will be like, When Christ died on that cross, so did sin. Sin died on that cross too. So you can't sin anymore. Even if you want, you can try it, but real believers cannot sin." I was like, "Oh." So they're basically in the same pool, but they're just kind of slightly having a different version of it.
Right, right. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It's just so weird to me, man. And a whole nother thing, like when we're talking about Perry Green or New Light, I asked these guys, well, what's that great city of sin, Babylon, in Revelation? Perry's like, oh, well, that's Jerusalem, man. Right? That's Jerusalem. New Light Studio said the same thing. Oh, man, well, that's Jerusalem, the city that rules over the earth. And then he talks about how all, the people came as one in, 1948. So it's like, oh man, this guy, he has no clue what the hell he's talking about. He really thinks the people in Israel today are God's chosen people back together as one today. I mean, these people are so far gone, it's
Hey
really
man,
difficult to know where to start.
hey, you know who'll agree with you? David will agree with you on that one.
Right, right.
Yeah, man, I hope that guy's all right, dude. Because I heard he was also, dealing with some health problems a while back. Last time I seen him say something in the Discord. I hope he's all right. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
seen
man,
him. I seen him on Discord like maybe last month. He told me he was having some issue, but at least he's still with us today. So at least that's going for him.
yeah, man, David's hilarious, bro.
Yeah,
But
funny guy.
Yeah, yeah, he would agree with that. He'd be like, "Yep, yep, yeah, those Jews in Israel, yeah, yeah, those are my people. Yeah, that's talking about us, the ones that are there now, the ones that those Palestinians are trying to kill. Yep, yep, that's us. That's our people." Like, and then, but if you hit them with the, you know, all the nations being in obedience and everything, so he'll be like, "Oh, well, you know, they're doing that right now. You know, like they support us, or the they don't know how to really respond to that, but I wouldn't
Right,
be
same
surprised if they
thing,
say that.
same thing with these preterist clowns. Like, you know, man, I find it just hard to believe that we're in 2026 and there's still idiots that are infesting YouTube with preterism. Oh, you know, man, well, we're living in a new heaven and a new earth today under Christ. But in a new heaven and new earth, well, first of all, why? You know, the Bible says when Christ comes back, he's going to take the crowns from all nations and put them on his head, meaning he's going to put all nations into obedience underneath him. So why is it today there's all these conflicts going on around the world for power over land? Like, look at Ukraine, for example. Russia wants to bring Ukraine back under the fold like they had them in the Soviet Union, right? They want to control that nation. So that's just one example. Or Israel and US versus Iran, right? And among other wars happening all over the world, conflicts or whatever you want to call them. But the point of the matter is if Christ was really ruling today, well, you wouldn't see all this nonsense happening around the world. The nations would be in obedience and not know war anymore. I believe that's in Isaiah, the second chapter. It says that the nations wouldn't know war anymore. Well, obviously, that's not happening today. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys have like no leg to stand on at this point.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of gullible people out there to believe all that
Yeah,
stuff.
unfortunate, man. Unfortunate. Like, you know, whether we're talking about, yeah, these religious people online. Like, I don't know if you caught recently. I had a debate with a free gracer that calls himself Toronto Bible Study. You know, I went on with this clown and, you know, his other numbskull buffoon on there and tried to talk to these people about, you know, the law and whatnot. And he was said, "Well, you know, this conversation is of no use. You know, it's of no importance, you know, having this discussion about the law. You know, the law, you know, you can choose to keep it if you want. You know, you'll gain nothing from keeping it. It's just all belief alone. You know, just say you believe in Jesus and now you're saved forever. So conversations about the law, you know, are of like no importance today, you know, and accomplishes nothing. And then I completely silenced him because I brought up Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13 and 14. It says, "For this is the whole duty of man, to fear God and to keep his commandments." Then verse 14 says, "For God shall bring every work into judgment." It can, you know, the good and the bad, nearly paraphrasing. But I mean, it completely refutes these guys. Oh, you know, man, it's just say Jesus. It's like, well, anybody can do that. I mean, it says in James 2:19 that even the devils fear and believe. In Mark the fifth chapter, the demons call Christ the Lord. They acknowledged him as the Son of God. So does that mean that they're now saved forever too? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's such ridiculous nonsense that you think people could be smart enough to see through. And of course, lo and behold, the New Light Studios character is a freak racer as well. You know, I could see that coming from a few miles away when I first talked to the dude. You know what I'm saying? It's so ridiculous today how people think on the internet, man.
Yeah, it's like all those mega churches and stuff, like Joel Osteen. They just I call it the feel good Christianity because they just want like
Right,
good
right.
vibes and stuff, and that's it. Oh yeah, you know, love Jesus, you're all going to heaven. You know, it's all good. You don't have to do anything. You can go out, do what you want, party, drink. You know, just cheat on your wife, cheat on your husband. It's all good. You know, like it's all been repented for, and you know, you're all gonna go to the kingdom. Or like what the universalists say, hey, it doesn't matter what you believe. You could be like Judah, you could be, you know, a Hindu, a Muslim, whatever, a Shia. Like, hey man, we're all going together. Like, it don't matter what you believe, we're all taking that school bus to the kingdom at the end of the day. So, you know, just have fun. It's like a playground down here, do whatever the heck you want. Doesn't matter, go out, eat pork. Yeah, man, you're good. Like,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd think people could see through such dumb shit like that, but you know what I find hilarious? with that guy you mentioned, Ace Theo, the universalism. I was on the stream with him like last year and I asked him, so you mean to tell me that even these prisoners who are in the El Salvador CCOP prison, which literally these men in there have literally killed dozens of people each that are in these, like we're talking about the worst of the worst gang members in the world in this El Salvador CCOP prison. And I asked him, so you're telling me that all these people are going to rise together when Christ comes back? He said, yes, all of them are going to rise up into the clouds together with Christ for eternity. Wow. So like, who is Christ coming back to judge then? Because doesn't the Bible say Christ is coming to judge the world? So like, if even the El Salvador Sikh murderers are going to rise up with Christ in that day, well, who the hell is going to be here to be judged then? You know what I'm saying?
I guess nobody, man. I guess when he means judge, they're gonna get like a slight pat on the hand and hey, I saw what you did, killing those people. That was bad, but hey, I'm coming back for my children. I love all of y'all, so we're all going to the kingdom.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just, it's just unbelievable, man, what people believe on the internet today. Like, I've been using this platform for basically my whole life. And, looking back, say 8 years ago, 10 years ago, sure, there was nonsense on YouTube, like it always is. But, some of this dumb shit wasn't being talked like universalism, preterism, Perryism. All this bullshit that people believe today in 2026 and preach online, barely any of this stuff was around, back then, man. It just seems like everybody just went brain dead within the last couple of years. It was really what it seems like.
Yeah, and yeah, I've noticed that really it's gotten really bad this year, but it seemed like 2025. I know we said, the last real year felt like it was 2019, but I think before all this craziness kind of really skyrocketed, 2025 was like the last year where it felt it was still going crazy, but I felt like I had some air to breathe. Now in 2026, man, it's just been crazy, like nonstop, like since January, just crazy the whole year. So, and it's not just people in America. I have friends in, European countries like LOP, for example. And, they all tell me the same thing. Like everybody kind of feels the same. Like everyone's tired, just doesn't really know, like, doesn't know about the future. Everyone's questioning the future now because of like the economy and stuff with the country. People aren't going out as much, not spending as much money. You know, I don't wanna say everybody's depressed, but they're just kind of like, they don't have the energy to, like, go out, interact with others, do anything. Everyone's just exhausted.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's terrible out here. Like hell, I'm already having, damn back pain. You know what I'm saying? It's getting damn bad out here, man.
Yeah,
Getting
man,
damn
I gotta stretch in the morning,
bad. Right, right.
if I don't, bend the wrong way, like, I might pull something. But yeah, man, even like the food, that's been a thing a lot of people are talking about lately, like the meat and stuff. It's like there's a lot of controversy with that. In Texas, I think there was one with like the lettuce was making people sick or something, some brand of lettuce. Um, but yeah, man, it's like dang, you can't even enjoy a meal anymore. Like just everything's just garbage.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. It's funny. I saw some dumb numbskull on TikTok. She was saying, "Well, I don't know why people are saying that food's unaffordable," and she shows like $100 of cheap processed shit she got from Walmart on the counter for $100, and she was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, $100 seems to go pretty far to me." And everybody in the comments was like, "Well, yeah, that's because you bought all this, cheap garbage and shit for like $2 each, and that's what you're feeding you and your children." You know what I'm saying? It's like some people just don't think today. Some people are just so naive and just so ignorant today, man. It really is just shocking and bizarre. But I have a verse for the audience listening that completely just throws Perry Green, these free gracers, and all these numbskulls, out the window just by reading this alone. It refutes their whole doctrine about, just believe, you can't sin no more. Jesus paid for everything for you to live freely forever now, no law to follow or whatnot. Well, let's see what the Bible says here. This is First Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 9. It says, "Know ye not that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. Either fornicators, adulterers, idolaters, effeminate, abusers of themselves of mankind, thieves, covetous, or drunkards, nor revilers, or extortioners will inherit the kingdom of God. And some of you were these things, but you have been washed and sanctified and justified in the name of Christ." So that right there literally ends the debate there. Notice at the top it says, "Be not deceived," right? Don't be deceived. People who are living these lifestyles will not inherit the kingdom of God. So, like, I don't get how, after reading that, some people will still try to fight you and say, well, man, you still can commit adultery. You can still be a thief as long as you believe in Jesus. You know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, man. If you say Christ is King once, you're absolved of all your sins, washed away, and you're a born again Christian.
It's so unbelievable. Like, I even seen Jack Smack 7 said, which I call him Jackass, right? He's Jack the Ass. But he said in his videos, people who are teaching to keep the law, they're actually teaching against what Christ said. So if you teach people to have a change of lifestyle, and this is literally what he said, people can look this up on his channel. He has multiple videos about it. Oh, if you teach to keep the law, you're leading away from God. If you teach to keep the law, you're teaching people to sin. If you say have a change of mind, have a change of lifestyle, well, you're actually teaching against what Christ taught. Think about how weird that is for a second. This preacher online with over 10,000 plus people who listen to him weekly said that if you're going around teaching people to change their lifestyle, well, then you're going against what Christ said. Wow, I can't believe that. It just seems so bizarre that there's people who believe such nonsense on here, man.
Yeah, weren't you in a stream one time and you were saying that, and some guy was like, "Yeah, man, teaching people to follow the law, that's actually antichrist."
Right, right. I was so like, I couldn't believe it. It's like I had to ask the individual, like, well, what do you mean by that? That, teaching people to keep the law is actually against Christ. I asked him, well, do you even know what the word anti means? Of course you don't. Well, the word anti means to be against. So how could you be against Christ if you're teaching people to keep the law? But I can go to book, chapter, verse where Christ himself literally said to keep the law. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people just don't think before they speak.
No, not at all, but they sure love to speak.
Oh, hell yeah,
I
that's for
mean,
damn sure.
you see all these, like, live streams and stuff with all these viewers, and they're just saying the most outrageous things, and you're wondering, like, how are people not only watching that, but, like, donating money to these people, like, supporting their lifestyle? It's just boggles my mind with, how expensive things are and stuff, but, um, I guess it's like that saying, some people have more money than brains because 'cause they're just throwing money at these people for nothing.
Right, right, I hear you,
And
man, I hear you. Like, I see all the time, either Jack Smack people will give him handouts, Ace Theo people donating on there, and all these other, clowns and shit. Peregrine's on there crying he has no money, but yet he's making furniture and
he's
giving it
making
away to
he's making
free.
tables for the local police department, so they leave him alone.
Right, right.
That's funny, bro. Like, I think about that sometimes. I'm like, "Man, how's Perry never gotten in trouble?" It's like, "Oh, he's making tables for the police department."
You know what I'm
Dude,
saying? It's hilarious, man.
I was laughing. I still laugh at this one so hard, and I'm about to have to go in a little bit. I gotta get ready for work here soon, but, this one where you made that cross for just from materials you got from the dollar store, right? I don't know if a
Right.
lot of people in the chat know this one. This is a pretty, this is a story from, like, a little while ago,
Yeah.
and Perry Green was like, "Oh, I gave up on ETT years ago. I stopped watching him years ago. I don't look at his channel. I don't look at anything he does. I don't care. He's irrelevant to me." And then literally right after you post that video of your cross, Perry makes a video making a cross. And then he's like, but the caption is something like, "This is how you make a real cross or a real
You
quality
know what? You know
cross."
what it was? It was here's the most ironic part about that, right? Dude says he don't really watch me, I'm, not worth the time. But then literally I put up a video where I show a Dollar Tree cross I made and, just showing it off. Literally the next day, the guy puts up a video with him, handcrafting a cross from wood from his backyard. But then the title says, "A Knot from Dollar Tree Production." It's like, what the hell? Like, buddy, it wasn't even supposed to be a challenge. Like basically what he thought it was is not a cook-off, but a cross-off. It was a cross-off is what it was. Who could make the best cross? Which, to be fair, I think mine clearly won. But it wasn't even supposed to be a damn challenge. I was just simply showing something I made. But the dummy probably thought it was some type of like, challenge towards him or something. It's like, what the hell? Like, what's wrong with these people, man?
Man, you got a hate watcher, man. He's a secret fan of yours, but he's like a hater.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. It's
He has the
it's
notification
hilarious.
bell on and everything.
Right.
He'll send
I
one of
don't
his
get people.
underlings. Yeah, he'll send one of his underlings into the chat like Baldhead or whoever, and uh, hey, tell me what he talked about.
Right, right. I hear you, man. And then remember that stream where he flew out those like brain dead retards from London or something? You see those two clowns in the
Oh yeah,
background?
yeah, 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 yeah. That Asian guy from London.
Right, right.
That's
Yeah, I
crazy,
mean,
man. He flew all the way like 7,000 miles, something like that, to the U.S. to see Perry and stay with
wow.
Perry.
You know what I'm saying, man? This shows you the extent that some of these false teachers go. But hey, Christ warned about that. In the last times, there will be many people not only claiming to be Christ, but also people rising up and deceiving others. Like we see it all over the place, right? Joshua with the rapture happening, these free gracers, all, just believe and it's all good. Perry Green literally flying people from around the world to his trailer park living room to do a live stream with him. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
hey,
It's just
man,
it's ridiculous.
people are struggling. Perry Green might gain some numbers. Like
Yeah, yeah.
everyone's struggling for money, not knowing what to believe. You see Perry Green come along with his congregation. They deploy a care package with some money, a Pornhub logo T-shirt with not
Oh
a sin
man.
for me, and hey, join our group. Here's some money, here's some food. Hey, man, you'll keep getting these if you follow our doctrine and peddle what we say, and boom, got
You
some
know what
more
I find
followers.
so hilarious, man? I seen that Jay said the other day, well, ATT Perry is more of a man than you will ever be, and I responded and said, well, hey man, you know what? I bet, if I was giving out t-shirts, candy, and money, throwing it around, I bet people would kiss my ass too and believe I'm such a great guy if I was giving out free candy and shirts and money and shit. So that's the only reason Jay likes Perry is because he gives him like free stuff. I think anybody can see that, right?
I remember Jay made that satire video. At least it was satire at the time, where he was like, "Hey guys, Perry Green's actually right." He's gonna make another video in the future. Perry Green, he's gonna say, "Yeah, guys, remember I made that joke video about him being right? Now I'm saying he's actually right, like for real. Y'all better get on the Perry train before it leaves."
Did you ever see that the one where D Coon actually called in the Perry show when he tried to expose the Sakari? That was crazy, man. Hilarious.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I bet Perry was like called off guard by that he called him the Sakari. Are you the Sakari? And Deacon tries to say, well, man, the Sakari is actually a group. It's not just actually one guy. I mean, Perry got absolutely steamrolled there. I mean, D. Kuhn said in his stream, he said that guy's like astro projecting from the dead to watch the stream where he takes him down.
I was laughing at that, man. He said he's like a walking carcass at this point.
Right,
Ran over. He got ran over
right.
so many times. Dude,
I
I
mean, shit.
remember.
People can say what they want
Yeah,
about D. Kuhn, but I got to give him credit. He totally mocked Perry in that debate. I got to give him credit on that. He wrecked this dude.
yeah, yeah. I was laughing too because I remember in that same video that Raphael guy tried calling in, and he was like underneath the sleep. He was like underneath a bridge or something. You could hear like a train going
Oh
over. He was
yeah,
passing
yeah.
by, and Deacon's like, hey man, you gotta fix that audio, buddy, before you come back on here. And he left, and he's like, man, that I know him. That's Raphael. He's living in an encampment.
Hey,
He's like, he left us and he's living in an encampment. He's like, damn. But yeah, man, I remember that guy. Like, he would always join the streams and just kind of like try to take over and what he's doing. And you'd ask him, be like, "Yo, dude, where you at?" "Oh, don't worry about it." Like, he'd be in like a parking lot in a library, or like in a Walmart or something, like preaching.
yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. You know, that numbskull tries to hop on my stream like last year or 2 years ago. I mean, I brought him up a couple of times. You know, me and Shreg, we combat that guy a couple of times. You know, really weird guy. You know, want to come up and talk about, is there actually a hell underneath the earth where demons are, and going to come up on the earth or something? You know, really weird individual. But yeah, the dude's
Yeah,
always got
he
like
said,
highway traffic in the background behind him when he calls in.
yeah, man. I remember him saying like the Antichrist is a guy in the UK or something. Like, what the heck? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, whatever happened
crazy.
to that Terry Flathers boxer clown?
Oh, Kyrie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still a Christian, but he walked away from all that other stuff that he was doing, and he's like a martial arts coach now.
Oh, okay, okay. So he's not going around making a damn clown of himself
Nah, nah,
everywhere.
man. Nah, he's not doing that young Moses stuff anymore.
I don't know why he didn't like me for some reason. Like, say for instance, like anytime I'd be on Shreg stream and he'd come up, he'd always give like some type of attitude towards me and be disrespectful. It's like, buddy, like, well, what is your problem? If you got shit to say, then just say it. Like grow a pair of balls and just say what the issue is, man. We'll address what the issue is. I don't get the petty attitude. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. He was like that with a lot of people back then. I don't know what it was. I think it was like a I feel like I'm smarter than you, so I don't even need to like give you the time of day type deal. But I don't think he's like that anymore, because like I said, he's not like extreme like he used to be. But even then, I don't even talk to him really that much. I just see his post on Instagram and stuff, and see he's doing all right. But he's not really someone close that I would talk to anymore
Yeah,
these
yeah, I
days.
hear you, man. Like as we were talking about like an hour ago, looking back at the last, 5 years, when we've had these podcasts with all these people, it seems like there's really only a couple genuine guys around today, man. Everybody else either fell out, hell, one or two guys might even passed away, like Good Servant, right? As Shreg would call him, Good
Oh
Serpent,
yeah.
right? Mr. Steven.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, man. Dude, I forgot about that guy completely until you just brought it up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, quick thing with that guy, right? I believe he died like nearly 3 years ago, believe that or not. But, him and Shrek didn't like each other. I mean, I thought that Steven was actually a cool guy, but here's what happened. I gave him my personal phone number and we were, chatting a couple times behind stage, on private call. And we talked for like 2 hours this one time. And we're like, man, let's set up a stream together like this coming week. We'll go on your channel and have like a 2 hour discussion. He was like, oh cool, we'll see you then. And then it turns out that in the middle of the week the guy died from an overdose, so we never got to do our podcast together. But that's the history with that. So Steven, hey, rest in peace to Steven. He was a cool guy, but that's what happened with that guy, man.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. How much stuff happened in such a short time back then. But it just feels like everything's kind of accelerating now. Like, we don't know what the hell like 2 years from now is gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, hell, man, so much shit's going on. Hey, as I like to say, hey, things can change in a day, and it really seems like that, man. Sometimes, things can go great for some people, go bad for other people. Things can really rapidly change over a very, short amount of time, man. And yeah, it's really hard to fathom some of these things sometimes. How, people change really quickly. Like Jay's a fantastic example. 3 years ago, cool guy, but now he like is into, Adolf being such a hero, the devil's actually a woman, and being just a prick to everybody for no reason at all. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's sad to say that. I thought he was a cool guy and whatnot, but sometimes people just change for the worse over time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, man, this world's just making people crack. But yeah, I'd love to talk more ETT. I gotta go now. I got work in a second. I gotta get ready for it. But I'd love to come on and chat later. If you ever
All
do
right,
this
yeah,
again and have a little open
yeah,
panel.
yeah. That's cool, man. It's good to talk to you, Galapagos. You can, and I believe you're in our Discord, right?
Yeah, yeah, man, I am.
All right, cool, cool. Yeah, I don't see you on there too often, man. But yes, stop by sometime, and we'll definitely chat again, man. It's always good to have these discussions, between me and you. It happens like every couple months we're able to do it. But man, it's always good to have these discussions, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, you too. Take care.
All right, you as well. All right, all right. So that was Galapagos. That's a cool guy. Yeah, pretty cool guy. Always enjoying my conversations with Galapagos. He used to be like the right hand man to TMOG. A good example or analogy would be, how like a captain of a ship has like a lieutenant. Basically, that's what Galapagos was with TMOG when he was, on YouTube, right? Like a second in demand underneath him, or in command, I should say. Yeah, but yeah, cool guy. I always like Galapagos. Good conversation. Um, Jared said, "Is he Rum Sleg from the Discord server? Hope I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah, that is Galapagos. There, that's his name on Discord. In case you didn't know. Yeah, I got 12 people listening in. Yeah, if anybody has a question or comment, I will take it. I'm not going to go for too much longer because it is after 3 hours now, but I don't have to end it exactly right now. Let me see real quick. Damn, it's been 3 hours already. It feels like only an hour. Drake said there's been about 4 big name people I know who died last week. I mean, yeah, as I said, man, things are getting, weird out here. Something that has to do with all this is that, mystery juice that everybody's got over the last couple years. I got to watch what I say because, you could get banned if you say certain things, of course. So, read between the lines. You might know what I'm talking about. I believe that has a part to play with it, certainly. And, yeah, man, it's just, a whole bunch of shit going on. Nobody knows what the hell to think anymore. Hell, like, I'm going to get myself a t shirt that says, I'm just trying to make it to Friday. Like, any of y'all ever seen that meme on YouTube where someone asked, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And the person responds and says, man, I'm just trying to make it to Friday. That's what all of us are doing, just trying to make it to that next, payday or whatever, just making it week by week. Can't even think about, what things will be, 2 years, 5 years in the future. You know what I'm saying? Just living life, one day at a time. And that's not always a bad thing, to live in the moment sometimes. In fact, I have a mug on my desk I use for my pens. It says, live in the moment. Matter of fact, let me look something up real quick. Yeah, this is a good verse going along with what's being talked about. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 33. It says, seek ye the first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Take therefore no fault for tomorrow shall take fault for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Right, but the point of the matter is, you know, you don't always have to think about what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's good to try to, relax and, live today. Rick said, Christ being the Son is what Jordan Maxwell says. Well, I don't know who that is, so I can't answer to it. But yeah, that's such a bizarre doctrine to teach. Oh, well, Christ is actually the sun overhead in the sky. Like, what the hell do these people believe, man? It's such a ridiculous, world we live in. Like everybody's, all fake. Everybody has like no damn clue what the hell they're saying. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's a mindless zombie out here, just regurgitating, the narrative of the government for whatever reason that is. You know what I'm talking about? I just find it just utterly ridiculous. Nobody has any damn sense. Nobody can think for them damn selves. Everybody just trusts the narrative, right? Trust whatever that narrative is that the government, says to live by. You know what I'm talking about? It's just totally ridiculous. But yeah, man, it's crazy what everything is out here, man. It's just crazy how bad shit is. It's crazy how people are acting, as I talked about earlier, people wasting half a grand on a little, Starbucks cup. People out here get into fist fights over little, kids' toys like Pokemons and shit. You know what I'm talking about? The hotels out here, motels out here being, $400 for one night. Ridiculous. Meanwhile, the government just wants to let people work, for 15 to 20 an hour. Right? We can't give people more than that. But there is, $1 trillion to fight Iran, though. Right? There is money for that, of course. But there's not money to, feed hungry children. Right? There's not enough money to give aid to the American people. That there's no money for that, of course. But there is all this, billions or trillions of dollars to send around the world to fight foreign conflicts that, don't have anything to do with the United States itself. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's such nonsense and stupidity everywhere you look today. And most people are just a bunch of suckers, don't really have shit to say about it. They just obey and listen like a gullible, docile servant. And I just find that, weak and pathetic how, certain people out here, think and operate themselves. You know what I'm saying? It really is strange. It really is strange, man. Let me see real quick. Looking at something off on my side real quick. It's funny. I saw this meme the other day. I got it right here. It's a guy pressing like a controller button, and there's four options. You can either start a family, find a prestigious job, be happy, or sit around for 8 hours every day cycling through free apps for memes and replaying video games that you aren't even interested anymore because you got nothing better to do. And of course the dude's picking the final option down there that I just mentioned. And I mean, shit, I can't blame him. You know what I'm saying? Like all the other shit. Well, hey, nobody can really be happy today. Who the hell out here can be happy other than these, people that, have it all and are, set for, their life or whatever. But I mean, other than that exception, you know, starting a family and, nobody can do that. No money for that. Not worth the headache. Finding a prestigious job. Well, first of all, people out here are getting, full college degrees and can't even get a job at Starbucks for Christ's sake. And guess what? Even if you do get the job, you literally can't even live on that. Because, 90% of the money you get, 95% of the money you get, either is going to go to your monthly bills or the government will take it in tax. and the very little you have left over goes to your food. Oh, and of course, gas to go to work. Let's not forget about that. So again, it really is just all slavery. Everyone's just slaving away for other people to live their dream, right? You don't get to have anything you want, but they can have it all. They can take your money, spend it how they want, just calling it tax, right? That's how they get people to believe it. They're not really stealing your money. Oh, it's just tax, man, where you just got to give us tax. It's like, okay, well, what if a thief came up to you and demanded your money but called it tax? It doesn't change the fact that he's stealing your money by force. Well, that's what taxation is. Just saying, well, you have to give us money or we'll hurt you. It's like, okay, well, is that not thievery right there, demanding money by threat of violence? Like, isn't that not the exact same thing? It's just a different person or individual doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like people just have no sense today in their head. Everybody today is just so docile, dumb, and ignorant running around out here. I mean, hey, man, these has to be the times that the prophets wrote about in the Bible, man. Like when you read Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, as some honorable mentions, 2nd Ezra 15, and chapter 16. Go check them out. That's talking about today. And anybody who can't see that, you're just blind. You're just ignorant. You're just naive. And you're just, you don't know what the hell is going on. That's just the fact of the matter. A lot of people in the world today are just not smart. Because if they were smart, well, then you wouldn't see all this shit going on everywhere. That's just the reality. That's just the fact. That's just the reality of what's going on out here. But anyway, I think I'm going to wrap the stream up there. It's been over 3 hours, but been a good stream. If anybody made it to the end, you can put hashtag a day freak. I put up a hashtag there. We'll use that to end off the stream. And y'all have a good night.